So that's it. That's the end of the season. Goodbye. Later, guys. All right. That's the end of
All
the
right, peace.
end of
Good
the
luck, everybody.
episode.
Good work.
That's it. Good work, everybody.
All the
And
episodes.
see you next year.
And see you
Steve
at the draft.
And fuck you all.
And defense definitely won me a championship.
I was gonna say,
Facts.
defense won the
Absolutely.
championship.
Defense won you the championship. We've been saying it all year. Like, turned up.
So before we get into everything, how was everyone's break? It's been a while since we've done an episode, so
Yeah, we left you on your own last time.
Yeah,
yeah, everyone was busy. It's cool.
powered through it like some sort of football degenerate.
Yep,
Like,
that's my job.
I mean,
I'm here
we
for you
would've-
guys. So
I would have done it with you if you just waited a day, but
no, it had to get done. Had to be
Okay.
had to be done. Had to be taken care of. I didn't want to wait any longer.
so
Yeah, I wasn't busy. I was salty.
Opened up sleeper. Amari Cooper did what now? Fuck you.
yeah.
Motherfucker.
fair.
And then he promptly disappeared for the championship game. I was kind of
Dude.
upset about that because I wanted to see if he could
He was
do Amari
concussed.
Cooper things. I know he was concussed.
We knew all week.
Yeah, but it's still disappointing.
It's not
That
like it was
he
a
couldn't
game
play.
plan thing where it was like, oh no, last minute. Like we knew all week.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a heel, but whatever. Still
Well,
didn't.
let's talk about the elephant in the room here. This nearly was a repeat of the stat correction bowl from years past in Written Crew Master League, where Steve ended up winning a trophy due to a last minute. I think it was a
ESPN
fumble. It wasn't a fuck up. It was just a fumble that was accredited to, I think it was like Jacksonville's defense that got
It was
taken
Washington.
away.
It was Washington.
Washington, Jacksonville,
Whatever.
doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
It was some
Someone-
bullshit franchise which had a decent defense that year.
And they ended up losing a fumble, and then Nile ended up losing the championship due to that stat correction. This one came down to the wire. This was 155.46 to Jordan's 155.08. So that's less than a catch, less than a first down,
Less than an assisted tackle.
less than an assisted tackle was the difference in this one here. We waited until Thursday. Thursday is usually when they finalize the stat corrections, and they published the stat corrections, I think this morning or late last night. So I
Yep.
think this is the final score here. This is why we waited, and I'm hoping that they don't do some last minute stuff that swings it one way or the other. I'm sure Jordan would love that because then he would end up winning if he ended up winning later today. But that
We
means
haven't
that
gotten
I
the
would have
engraving done
to
yet.
come back on here and do another podcast, and I don't want to do that, recanting all the bullshit. This is it. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
So
And
We're pretty
just saying,
sure.
the last 2 days, yeah, no. Staring
I'm
at
sure
the-
you.
opening up the sleeper app every now and then
Yep.
just to be like,
I was
stat
doing the
correction
same thing.
flop?
I was doing the same thing. I was like, did Jordan win? Did Joe lose? Is Joe still winning? Is Jordan still
Fucking
losing?
awful.
I don't know. Every time I opened it, it was like, what's it gonna be? I kept checking my phone to see if like Josh or someone was like, oh my god, like it happened with the meme. It's like, it's happening. But it never happened.
Nope.
Yeah.
Some other people got
I
some
swear
stat
I checked
corrections.
the stat corrections, like they were meaningless.
Yeah,
I
there
swear
there
to
weren't
God.
any big ones like
I
loss of safety or something.
Right.
yeah.
But it's interesting though because last week against Danny, it was a similar situation for Jordan where I think it was a point margin and there was a stat correction that put Jordan ahead a couple points. So that was a similar like the last 2 weeks Jordan I'm sure was just like
I think it
going into
was
Thursday.
a 2-point margin in both cases last week, but
It was like a
same
tackle
amount.
because I remember
Yeah, it
Danny was hoping for like an assisted tackle or something to go
But
another way,
It's like you needed a point to go away and another one. Like it was really
but it ended up the stat corrections went the other way,
yeah.
and then
right.
he ended up losing a little
Ended
bit
up at
more, but still damn close. Yeah, a pass breakup getting removed would have been a death knell for anybody in the last couple weeks here. So, yeah.
I definitely lost to Trevor in the regular season because of that. So,
Yeah.
it feels bad when it happens.
Yep. I mean, similarly, earlier on in the season, Steve and I had a really close match that was less than half a point margin.
Our first game, me and you had a ton of stat corrections. One that never even came to me, that I watched physically happen in the game, and they just didn't even count it. I even clipped it and put it in our chat, and it was still
No,
not-
that was the phantom
pass
pass break.
defense.
I mean, it ended up not being a pass defense
but it was
on the
he batted
official
it out.
on the official
Yeah, I
thing.
know, but
it wasn't.
we all watched it. We all watched it happen.
It's just how the stats
Yeah, I
work,
know.
man. I don't know what to
yeah.
tell you. blame the NFL and
Dude,
they're
I've had
nerds.
the exact same feeling. Like watching and be like, "Oh,
I
that's
can't
best
blame
bet."
I can't blame the NFL because in the NFL real stats he's credited with it, but in the fantasy stats he's not. That's even what I pulled up.
No, that's what I went and looked at is the game book, and he doesn't have it in the official stats. It's the ESPN site. The one that you pulled up was different. They had it, but it wasn't in the official game book from the NFL website. That's where the stat corrections that Sleeper gets come from, and that's what I asked them when I asked their support. Is they get it from the NFL game book that you can download for each game. It's like a really long document. It's like 20 something pages of like every play that happened in the game, and it's like actually really impressive. I didn't realize that they released that publicly every single week, but I don't know, I thought that was kind of cool.
I mean, they have to with the amount of money and betting that.
Oh my god, yeah. Like
Yeah, makes sense.
I over the course of this season I've gained a lot of respect for the process that Vegas goes through to determine money lines and stuff, like poring over the matchups and deciding like who's going to get 3 catches versus 2 based on last week, and then determining the money lines and everything. Like the amount of computation and manpower that has to go into figuring out what the betting line should be is kind of insane. You know, it's like, yeah, I still don't buy into the whole like the refs are crooked and the NFL is a conspiracy and all that bullshit. I don't think that's quite the case, but
Until
I
there
do.
are charges. Not until there are charges.
Hilariously, did you see the new one going around, the Super Bowl conspiracy?
Oh, the colors for the
Team
logo.
colors.
I
and the
did see
logo?
that. Yeah.
Hilarious.
What
'Cause
what
it's
did it
really
it
true
again, this
insinuated a what was it? San Francisco, Kansas City? Is that what
San
it
Let's
was?
go Baltimore.
Or Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Purple and red.
That's right. It was purple
Yeah.
and red.
Yeah.
You're right.
For this year.
They know. I mean,
It's
honestly,
stupid, it's so dumb.
honestly, that kind of makes sense because, like, aren't they the favorites at this point?
They are currently, but the logo was released months and months ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you.
but they've kind of been there at the top, and like outside,
Yeah.
unless you like don't believe in like one of those teams, like it's
I
not
mean,
an unfair bet.
couldn't you
It was a
argue
pretty
that it was
reasonable choice.
Kansas
Like,
City Vikings?
I mean,
I mean, only if it was like pre
Maybe.
Kirk Cousins, like after
yeah,
Kirk
I mean,
went down,
at
like
the
no.
beginning of the season, people did think the Vikings were legit Super Bowl candidates. I mean,
Okay, well, last year they had what were they 10-1 or undefeated or
one-score
whatever
games. Yeah, 10
in
and
one.
one-score games.
They were like 7-0 in 1-score games.
Yeah.
And then this
They were-
year they were like 3 and like a lot or some
Yeah,
shit.
3
It
and
was
8.
just like terrible. It's
Pendulum
like the other
swung
side
back
of that.
the other way. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the Vikings play a lot of close games. What do you know?
Well, let's talk about the actual like matchup that happened. You guys played Gardner Minshew and Baker Mayfield. Like, what the fuck was this season? It's insane.
It was my problem of not believing in Joe Flacco, because apparently Joe Flacco is just like, I don't know.
He means Super
getting the
Bowl
foundation
MVP Joe
started.
Flacco.
Yeah,
I mean,
Former Super Bowl MVP Joe Flacco.
whatever, man. He's still like, like,
Bro's,
Yeah.
Bro's always been a beast. He didn't even have that great of a game. He had a interception and 2 fumbles, and he
He's
still
just
was
got a
able
crazy
to.
arm.
Yeah, he just slings it out there, man.
Yeah, I mean, he basically was doing his best Jameis Winston impression.
What's crazy is he's far better than Deshaun Watson at this point
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
as a quarterback. Like
always has been. What do you mean?
Mhm.
Joe Flacco is a goat.
crazy.
Flacco had.
I don't know
I
about
mean, he's
always
definitely a
has
goat
been,
player.
but
I mean, when he was on the Jets,
He's always been
he had
good.
a really shitty system, and like it wasn't a good match for him. But where he's at now, I mean, he's in the perfect.
I mean, Joe Flacco. I mean, I don't. I mean, Brock Purdy's got a long way to go, but like you could say the same thing about Joe Flacco as Brock Purdy, especially with like the Ed Reed like.
Joe Flacco's been in the league since before all of us got out of high school,
he's really
and
underrated. Like,
and he's so underrated.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
At this point in his career, though, like this is what he is. He's probably the best backup in the league.
Yeah, probably. I mean, he's definitely got the most
Yeah, that's not-
experience.
Definitely not a probably. He is the best backup in the league.
There's a lot of
I just don't know all the
backups.
backups.
Yeah, I like every week it's like a different backup. Like, is Jake Browning the best backup in the league? He was for like 2 weeks, and then Joe Flacco comes out and does this. Like, how many? It's like over 60 quarterbacks have started this season.
Point.
Has to
Yeah,
be a
it's
record.
been horrendous. It's been horrendous.
Has to be a record, right?
I think it.
And I mean, I didn't start
was.
Joe Flacco because he was playing the Jets, and like Jets have talent on the defense. Like, do you really want to bet against Sauce like versus a Amari list? Like,
A bunch of number
offense?
twos. Yeah,
yeah, it's like I don't know. Obviously a mistake.
a bunch
mean-
of twos and threes. He found Njoku like 6 times.
Yeah, I mean, if
Njoku
Njoku
went
gets hurt,
off,
Yo,
Was it like
In one
year 8?
quarter.
and he's finally.
dude,
Well,
he's only it's year 5, like year 6.
it feels like
he's
he's
not
been in
that
the
old.
league longer, but
Yep.
yeah.
I do remember seeing the score during halftime when me and Scott were at the game, and it was like 37-0, like 7 or some shit, and I was like, "What is happening with the Jets?"
Brees Hall
Dude.
scored. That's all.
That's
All they did. Like, that's all that happened.
Dude, the Jets, like, I mean, it's the Jets, like, at this point. But you put anything past them, like, this late in the season, like, good God, what's going on over there?
They're not
It's
playing for
embarrassing.
shit.
Something finally broke with their defense, though. Like, clearly they're like completely, business decisions are being made on that secondary. This week's probably going to be an equally high scoring game.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that
Joe Flacco was a Jet at the beginning of the season, or in the off season rather.
Off season.
This is just a good reminder of, like, how loyal the NFL is to, like, their draft picks. Because any sane person would have looked at Joe Flacco and Zach Wilson and been like, let's cut him. And, like, just
Right.
gone with Flacco.
I mean,
Yeah, no,
that
Flacco
would
was
have
like,
been the idea.
I mean, at no point did Zach Wilson ever show like 100th of what Joe Flacco has ever shown.
Can be. Yeah.
It's not really comparable.
If Zach Wilson is ever in a Super Bowl MVP, I don't know what I'll do.
That's a
Dude,
I'll
I,
fall into
weird-
my own
weird-
asshole.
dude,
that I don't want to see.
I probably will like. I'll probably just tune out the NFL for a while. Like,
'Cause
Yeah.
That means
I
that
don't know what's
31
going on.
other teams have failed.
yeah, dude. Like, although we should mention like part of like Christian McCaffrey, like in every other format other than ours, because of like the startup draft, like was the obvious number 1 pick, and should be
something
next
like 50.
And, like-
I think it was something like 50% of fantasy teams who were in their championships had Christian McCaffrey on them. Like he was literally the league winner
Driving force.
player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah, because of how many games he scored over 20 points. It was insane.
yeah, his bad games
Yeah.
are 15 points. Like that's absolutely nuts.
He's a
Yeah.
monster.
Yeah.
What we watched this season with Christian McCaffrey was like prime Adrian Peterson, like LaDainian Tomlinson. You know, it's just
Yeah, name any of the great
insane.
quarter like
He's a Hall of Faming running back.
Oh,
Hall of
absolutely.
Oh yeah. Oh
Hands
yeah. No
down.
doubt.
Without a doubt.
And the scariest thing is that he's still got gas in the tank. Like this guy can play for another 3 or 4 years, maybe.
At this level for
It
sure.
depends on the injury.
Maybe.
He's only
situation,
27.
but,
I think
you know,
I think he has like
reasonable consideration.
I think he has like a year left at this capacity, and then like 2 or 3 years of the downfall. Because
I don't know, man. Like Kamara, like is a couple years like close to 30, right?
He's 29 currently, I think, right?
and he's on his downfall right now.
Yeah. I mean that's true, but like
He says he's
Yeah.
28. He's 28 and he's on his.
Okay,
He's
yeah.
next year. Like he's gonna start phasing.
oh, that's
out.
fair then, yeah.
I think he's
Like
got.
I'm literally just saying like I know this sport, and I know how hard it is on bodies,
Yeah.
and I guarantee you
Especially
that this
running
is his
back.
Super Bowl year, and then they're gonna get a ring, and once he gets his ring, it's like his subconscious is just gonna tell him
He doesn't want to
"Don't
get hit
kill your-
anymore.
Don't kill yourself.
Yeah.
Because you have a family, you have kids, you got a whole future to look ahead to, and there's just
Do you want to be
there's
able
just
to
no
walk?
point.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to be around after you're 50 years old?
Right.
That and like go out on top. Like
Yeah.
part of your legacy is,
I don't
go
think he'll
crazy.
retire. You know what I mean? Like I think like I'm saying, he's gonna have one
He's
more.
not going to pull a
star-studded
Barry
year.
Sanders.
Yeah,
is what
he's
you're
gonna have
saying.
one more star-studded year, and then that's it. Like
Yeah.
he's just there's gonna be no
He's just
point
gonna-
because
he's gonna zone himself out.
like unless somehow San Francisco's like, oh, we're gonna go to the Super Bowl the next 3 years. There's no reason for him to keep killing himself.
With what Shanahan's doing with that team, it's possible, man. Their window is
They're
wide
young
open
enough.
because of the quarterback situation. The question marks will come with that offensive line. There's going to be
Yeah, Trent
players that are
Williams.
going to, like Trent Williams is a perfect example. Like their left
Yep.
tackle is probably going to go eventually,
Yeah.
you know.
The other
So-
thing too with San Francisco, and this kind of goes with anybody in the Shanahan McVay kind of system, is there are not a lot of like elite level like linebacker duos that can stop this offense consistently. Like
Right.
they're going to be in the mix. Like the Ravens have one, like maybe the Jags, but like their defense sucks, so like discount them.
And their offense is really questionable.
Yeah.
Super
Can't-
inconsistent.
couldn't counter.
Yeah, there's
So-
just not a lot of linebackers.
I think
Maybe
that there's
but-
not a lot of linebackers simply due to the fact that most people don't want to play on defense anymore. And
Yeah, because you can't play defense.
especially at that level, because there's just no glory in it anymore. There used to be a ton. Like it used to be the most sought after position because you didn't have to really learn a ton of plays. You had
You're
to
the
learn
quarterback.
schemes, and you had to like understand the offense, right? But it wasn't like super competitive, and the fact that you didn't have to be as intelligent as an offensive player. But
And there
now-
were still famous like defensive players too.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, exactly.
There was. Now it's pretty rare, and we know more linemen by heart than we do linebackers.
Yeah, think of all
and
the star
cornerbacks.
defensive players in the league right now. They're all like edge rushers.
Yeah,
Or they've got like a name like
Cornerback.
Sauce Gardner, or
I mean,
Yeah.
even him, he's
Brand.
not even that. He's not a
He's not a
household name.
superstar, you know. Like
He's not a household
Devin Witherspoon's a good player for
Yeah.
the Seahawks, but like he's not known around.
You know
the
who's a
league.
household name? Aaron Donald.
Yeah, Aaron Donald,
Myles
Myles
Garrett.
Yeah,
Like-
Jinx.
Like linemen, right? So it's
Yeah.
one of those things
Max
where
Crosby.
when we were when
I don't think Max
when
Crosby is. Like he hasn't
when-
been around long enough.
the last really, in my opinion, household name linebacker was Bobby Wagner. And look
Yeah,
at where he's at.
for
He's
sure.
he's so old. Or Urlacher. Even Brian Urlacher. You know,
Mm.
and so it's like one of those things where we haven't had a great talent back at the linebacker position in years. Like
Roquan kind of counts to some
I
extent.
don't.
But
I mean,
don't know. He's not
Roquan
a
and
suit-
Fred Warner are like the two guys.
They're the
right
up and coming
who are-
guys.
They're the
you
up and
know?
coming guys, but can
they're
they
not.
prove it over the next 10
Yeah,
years that they're
they
the
need
guy?
to be
Good question.
dominant for like 6 years straight, wrecking the league and being a problem.
The only one who is becoming that currently, in my mind, is TJ Watt. And he's not even, and he's kind of, well, he drops back.
He does.
So
He's a linebacker. Yeah,
he's a linebacker. So he's an outside, but there. I guess if we're talking inside
It's that.
linebackers, there's nobody. But
Yeah,
outside
there's no-
linebackers, there's TJ Watt. And
out of
he is a
all those
household
guys,
name.
though, TJ Watt's
Yeah.
definitely like a household name. Like everyone in the league, every fan of
I mean,
every
it's-
team
but-
knows
But
TJ
why
Watt.
is he a household name?
Because he's got two
JJ
brothers who
Watt.
Also
Yeah, I was about to
play
say,
Yeah.
really well.
he's got a
And
family.
Who is
name
what?
that
Who-
could-
Who is what?
Yeah,
Who is what?
but yeah,
A
but-
lineman
yeah.
that was
Yeah.
dominant in the
Yeah,
league.
but
For many years.
yeah, but TJ Watt is also a really good player. Like he had what?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
18 sacks this season, which is
He's
fucking
probably
stupid,
the
or whatever.
only sibling
A
I've
billion
seen in the
sacks.
league. He's the only sibling that I've seen in the league that has actually filled the shoes of his older sibling
Yeah.
and become just as dominant in the game,
Oh, here
which
comes-
is crazy.
by God, is that
Okay, the
James
St.
Cook's
Brown
music?
brothers don't count
Maybe, man. I mean,
And my
we
dinner
won't
is
know by
ready.
looking at him this week, though. Just saying. Going back to the matchup, like Jameer Gibbs and James Cook, they ain't him, bro. Like,
So I'll be back.
Yeah, Trevor's gonna get
Alright.
some food, so
I
hop
haven't
back
eaten
in.
all
Hop
day.
back in if you want, Trevor. We'll
Yeah, I
either
will.
be here or we won't.
I'm just gonna mute up.
Yeah. All right, man. Yeah. So the running back situation I thought was really close. Like Christian McCaffrey obviously was the best in the matchup, but I thought James Cook, after his really huge performance last week, could have,
he didn't do shit last week.
or 2 weeks ago. Was
Yeah,
it
that's
two?
just-
Yeah,
yeah,
it's 2 weeks ago when you had like the
My
40-point
first
game.
round.
I mean,
Yeah.
He had a
Getting
40,
fives in a
39
row.
point, dude. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean that's what the defense respects a 40-point.
But that when you see that from a player though, that when they have a ceiling game like that, you know that's what they can do. And that's what Christian McCaffrey can do. So I was thinking, like, if there's gonna be a big blow up game, it's gonna be between Cook or Gibbs, basically making up for the damage that Christian McCaffrey does. And then Rashad White also could break 20 points because he's been really solid this year.
Yeah, his elite production comes from just like the checkdowns, man. It's wild. Just
so
a
many,
PPR machine.
so much volume and the PPR. Yeah,
Like just yeah.
I mean,
He's
this
just
is
like a
what we
line
saw.
runner.
This is what we saw with Baker Mayfield when they had Kareem Hunt back there. Is that he would basically be the receiving back. He was the scat back, and then he would check down to him all the time. I remember when Baker Mayfield was on the Browns, people were saying like both the Browns running backs are fantasy viable. Roster both of them, and you're okay to roster both and play both on your team. Like playing Kareem Hunt,
Yeah.
Nick Chubb as your starting running backs was a viable strategy. So it makes sense to me that Rashad White would be cooking right now because he's pretty adept at
he can do
catching
both.
passes.
Let
So
him do
Yeah.
both. You know,
He's
That's
not. He's not. Well, I don't know about doing both. He's a fine.
he's a
between the
fine
tackle
runner.
back.
He's not a power
good-
back. Like,
Not
you know.
good at it. He's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
well, what was his end of season?
space.
He was 3.6 yards a carry. That's under the average. That's like meh.
Yeah,
That's all right,
Yeah.
you know. But at the same time, running back carries and their efficiency is a stat that is more or less tied to the offensive line play. And we all know that the offensive line play of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers has not been excellent this season. So if they can
Yeah, I mean,
upgrade at offensive line and next year bring Baker back, because I imagine he's played well enough to keep that job, maybe they will be a better offense next year.
They lock up the division because if they've locked up the division,
They are playing the Falcons again this week, I believe. I don't.
Oh, it matters. The NFC South is a mess right now because, like, if there's like,
Oh no, the
some
Saints play the
certain-
Falcons this week.
Yeah, the Saints play the Falcons, and the Bucks play the last team.
Carolina.
Yeah, thank you, Carolina. And
Do
if
they
the Bucks win,
roll
they
their
win
own?
the division.
okay.
If the
then-
Bucks lose, then the winner of the Falcons Saints game wins the division. If some other crazy shit happens, then Carolina can't get it. So it's one of those three.
I hate week 18 with a passion. And it's not like adding an extra game was the reason that this is the way it is. It was the same with week 17 before they
Yeah.
added the extra game.
It's just the final
The,
week.
the final week is so bullshit because you have teams that are facing teams that need other teams to lose, and said team is resting players because they don't have anything to play for. And it's just like, it's the most fucked up week of the year. It's just like, I could fucking care less about week 18, honestly.
That's
Yeah,
why,
no, it's
good to put
unwatchable.
It's
I mean, it's
after watching like 13 or 15 games of hardcore football, because I don't really count the beginning of the season as being that serious because of what preseason is. Week 18 is basically a preseason quality football, and it sucks. I hate it.
no, so many backups and just
There
like
are
second string
always
dudes.
just select few games to watch.
Yep.
You know, there's a reason we don't play fantasy this week,
Yep. Absolutely.
and it's exactly this.
We did in the past, and it was terrible.
Yeah, it was a mess.
Many
Like-
years ago, when we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah,
It was a mess.
Yeah.
it was an absolute.
But yeah, all your running backs were fucking terrible. Actually, both your
No.
team's offenses were fucking like Christian McCaffrey
All
got
their-
hurt.
all their
15
running
points.
backs
15
were
points.
bad.
For,
Not true, dude.
Lots were terrible.
Yeah,
Aaron
yeah.
Jones had one of his best games. of the
Isaiah
year,
Pacheco fucking went
and
the hell
Pacheco
off.
went the fuck off.
well, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm talking about your starting running backs. I'm not
that's-
talking about your. Sure, you
That's-
played a
that's
lot of
the
running
difference
backs, Joe.
here is- it's-
No,
he has
Pacheco
4 of them.
Pacheco was a starting running back. He just needed a clear concussion protocol, which is why he's in the flex.
Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about the flex matchups, you absolutely dominated
Yeah.
Jordan because he played Rashid Shaheed, who was playing a
Derek
really
Carr.
stingy defense suddenly, and
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift did basically nothing in a game that was just an absolute disaster class by the Eagles.
It
I mean,
just
we can go back to the
absolutely
Eagles and like the starting wide receivers.
Because
Like
the
AJ
AJ
Brown,
Yeah.
like had like
They're
just
doing nothing.
a floor game, but like the Eagles' offense is fucking.
It's a fucking mess. AJ Brown, remember when we were talking about how AJ Brown's on this historic tear? He like broke the NFL record for consecutive games over 125 receiving or whatever the fuck that record was.
essentially got me the 6th seed. Like
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Single.
And then Jameer Gibbs came on and basically replaced his production in your team, and that's basically what propelled you to playoffs.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Jameer Gibbs waking up made the difference.
That and
Last
like
year
Boye
he did-
Maffe's streak
had
of
a
sacks.
similar-
That's the other part.
I mean, AJ Brown's production actually went down in our scoring this year from last.
Yeah, but early on in the
Well,
season,
maybe
he
in the
looked
final
unstoppable. It was like, do
Maybe
you
in the-
want Tyreek Hill or do you want AJ Brown? And then now it's like, oh my God, the Eagles
I know.
defense or the Eagles offense is
I
broken.
mean, it's just been like a
I
slow.
mean, that being
decline of
said,
it.
like, I think it's telling that he's still in half PPR, the wide receiver 5, again. And it's just like
Yeah.
this year, it's the
Yeah.
quarterback play, it's the too high, it's the
The offensive line regressing,
it's just a lot of like
the tush push.
yeah. I mean, it's just like general trends in the NFL of like
crap, normal crap.
like just
Also the Eagles have just been shocking. Like they score like 30 points every week, but like that defense is so shambolic that it's like they need to score that many points to even be in game. And then they lost to the fucking Cardinals.
Yeah,
I mean, their secondary is trash.
fucking embarrassing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you see they fired Sean Desai or benched him or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And now it's
They
Matt
benched him
Patricia.
before our before
That
our
was on
matchup. again.
Patricia's watch. They did that
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Yeah. No, I mean, Matt Patricia's never like,
That was the Matt Patricia defensive experience right there. Like,
That being said, on the other
Awful.
side, like, say what you want to say about like whatever the hell Detroit did and how they got screwed, but Amon-Ra went off like because Amon-Ra's
Oh, he's automatic.
yeah,
He's definitely earned the namesake of Jordan's team.
yeah.
That's for sure. And he did everything he could do for his team this week. Jordan just had a million duds all over the place. Just like,
yeah. I mean,
well,
that's
not
it.
duds, but just like meh.
It
you
was
know?
just like,
4 games. Like,
I mean,
I mean,
yeah.
Isaiah likely getting 2 touchdowns is exactly what you expect because
No Mark
Lamar's
Andrews.
Yeah.
gonna pass to his
normal.
tight ends, and also like they kicked the living shit out of Miami. Like,
Yeah, the Ravens are fantastic. Lamar Jackson is playing
Very
at
good.
such a high level. He's like 20. He's 2018 Lamar Jackson. He's better than 2018 Lamar Jackson, and if he can continue to do this and not slump for multiple years like he did after his previous MVP contention season,
I mean, those were all.
he could be an all-time great.
Injury.
I think
he'll-
we're at the like Michael Vick threshold because he plays exactly like Michael Vick did, and he just needs the title. That's the only thing it's missing.
I mean, Michael
Yeah.
Vick himself said that Lamar Jackson is the heir apparent. Like,
Yeah,
he's
and
Vick endorsed.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson said he grew up watching Falcons games and idolized Michael Vick and wanted to be like Michael Vick as a player. Hopefully not with the other shit, but
Yeah, not the other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lamar seems to have a pretty good head on his shoulders.
yeah, seems like a chill dude.
I mean, as much as everybody this offseason was like, oh my god, he doesn't have an agent. It's like, yeah, he doesn't need an agent. The superstars don't need agents. None of them do.
He has leverage and he's smart.
Look at my
enough to do it.
stats.
Like,
That's all I need.
Yeah. Do you see this MVP? Like, like, yo, how many?
bring me back. I'll do it again.
Yeah.
You know? Pay me like I'm worth it.
I think your MVP was Aaron Jones.
I agree.
That trade was
In
so
the
clutch
trade,
for you.
yes. I mean, my MVP is Isaiah Pacheco and Roquan, like without a doubt. Those two.
Yeah. Roquan for sure.
You're not winning a championship on Monday evening with Aaron Jones getting that final first down to salt the game away.
The second round pick that Steve now owns.
Fuck that
is
pick. You got a championship
The
because
best
of it.
pick I've ever not made.
You've ever
Exactly.
seen. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah,
No kidding.
no. I mean, Aaron Jones, like,
I think
is the
everyone
reason
can
I
agree.
won,
You would
but-
trade away multiple years worth of picks for a championship. Like,
oh yeah,
that's what matters.
Yeah.
Fuck
yeah.
the picks.
No, I would trade all of my picks for one
For a championship.
one title. Yeah,
Yeah.
like no question. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you know,
Easy second rounder.
oh yeah, like easily the best trade I'm ever gonna make. I mean, even with Aaron Jones didn't do much this entire year.
He was a key part of your offensive plan, though, because without him, you were struggling with
I mean,
running
you have-
backs. Because
Oh, yeah.
Jameer Gibbs was there was a whole he was injured, he missed a couple games. David Montgomery came back.
Aaron Jones was in and out, and
Aaron Jones was also in and out. You traded for him when he was hurt too. You knew what you were getting into.
yeah,
Right.
Like
You knew-
Steve
and he was coming
specifically
back
sold
off.
low on him because he was injured, and Steve was like, "I am fucked. There's no way this player is going to be useful to me in 3 years." So
yeah, and I needed to make a swing because I'd already started to.
You had pretty
separate
clearly locked up
myself.
to succeed at that point.
Yeah. It's like,
Like,
all right,
you
I have to.
started
commit.
Yeah.
put that
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
Yeah.
But man, Brian Branch also went big for you.
Yeah, thank you, Scott, for reminding me about Brian Branch during our rookie draft because I totally forgot about him. It was like, oh yeah, I really like him. I'm gonna take him.
it. You were like, I wonder when they're gonna pick that Brian Branch kid. He was pretty good, and I was like, yeah. Then you were like, shit, and you picked him up. What was he, your second or third,
He's my fourth rounder.
fourth rounder? That's really good.
Yeah,
Yeah, you had a really good
third
startup
rounder-
draft.
I mean, my third rounder, honestly, is more important because I traded him and the second for Aaron Jones. So
Right.
even though he never played any game for me, even more important.
Yep.
Mhm.
Another kind of surprising result from this week was just all of Jordan's defensive players, which have been so good for him all season, like Max Crosby, DeForest Buckner, Mr. Anal Zone. They all just kind of they didn't dud necessarily. They just did. They had all floor games, and it just wasn't. There was no dominant performance like what we saw from T.J. Watt with getting 50 points and it's just them's the breaks.
Yeah, and it's not like any of them had terrible games. You look at their stats. It's like DeForest Buckner sack, like C.J. Mosley like fumble
Yeah,
and
they have productive
fumble,
game.
forced fumble, like fumble recovery. L'Jarius Sneed like less than 10 points, but still got the PD, like the tackles. Like that's good. Like those are good games.
Yeah, Jordan remained remarkably healthy all season, and then at the last second, all these injuries came out of the woodwork. Christian McCaffrey,
I mean,
and
that's
then
the big one. Let's be honest. Like,
yeah, that's huge. I mean, he still scored. Like he got 15 points. You're happy with from any player at any
If
position.
Humphrey plays the whole game, you lose.
oh yeah,
You
100%. I mean,
Yeah.
1 point is not like. I mean,
But he's
yeah,
gonna get more than that. Like
yeah.
some zeros.
He went out early too, if I remember correctly. I was
Really
at the
did.
Seahawks game, so I didn't pay super close attention
Yeah,
to
you went out pretty early.
all the other matchups and stuff. Like I watched like Red Zone and stuff in the morning
was
before
like-
I left.
It
But
was like a first quarter injury.
yeah,
I did not watch almost any games because Baker Mayfield up until the fourth quarter had like
oh
0.
brutal. I was looking at my phone at the game just to
Yeah,
see what the
yeah.
scores were at, and I was like, "Oh, Jordan's got this."
Yeah, I was like, I'm not watching.
You didn't
myself.
play Flacco, and
ass kicked. Like,
'cause-
yo,
yeah, and then
Dude.
it was the evening game because I watched the Roquan Smith int, but it wasn't until the evening game when Isaiah Pacheco just went absolutely crazy, where you started to really mount a comeback, and it was like I'm in this, and then in the evening it was like it's down to Aaron Jones because it was like a 15-point margin at the time.
oh, dude, like the minute it came down to Aaron Jones, I was like, oh, now I have to watch the Packers.
Yeah.
Like,
I enjoyed
No
that
choice.
game.
You have
I
to do
enjoyed
that.
watching that. That game was
That was a
actually
fun
pretty
game.
exciting. Yeah, it
it
was
was
good.
fun.
Fun to
Other than the
watch.
fact that I
Despite-
absolutely hate the Packers coach. I
I
absolutely hate
particularly-
that man. Like, fuck your coach.
Fuck
Like
the
everything
player.
about him is like
Oh,
I hate his
man.
face, his voice. Like probably like his third cousin hate him too. Probably like yo. Like,
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Especially on the Aaron Jones usage front. I was
Dude,
riding
well-
that bandwagon pretty hard earlier in the year, but
I mean, the thing about the Aaron Jones usage is it's very, very reminiscent of how James Cook was used in the beginning of the season. Was a between the 20s, super explosive. Like we're gonna give it to our guy. He's gonna get us down the field. We get in the red zone, and then we're just
start
gonna like
calling pass plays.
pass. We're gonna start passing, and that's exactly what like the Bills did for like the first until they fired whoever it was.
Ken Dorsey.
Yeah, Ken Dorsey.
Yeah.
Really?
But it's the
That's
exact same
trash.
thing.
I mean, that's just embarrassing.
Well, Trevor's
Yeah.
back.
That's good. But yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I mean-
very reminiscent of that. Like that kind of shit pisses me off because it's like, it's one of the few times where it's like, hey man, could you just reward the guy that got you down the field, please?
Yeah, give him the touchdown.
It's
for
not
once.
even. It's just like.
So
just
I've mentioned this throughout the season that Austin Eckler is a really fantasy friendly player because he talks a lot about professional NFL play from the perspective of a star player. And he has said, like, people have asked him, like, why does that happen? Specifically, you're on the field, you're really productive, you get like, you are responsible for like 50 yards of that drive by yourself. And he's like, yeah, we get tired. Like, we need to sit on that sideline for a bit. Like, I know you're in the red zone and I know that we need to score, but like, we get gassed. It's hard to play the game.
yeah.
So,
Well, any of the sideline shots of Aaron Jones, he looks tired.
I don't know.
he
Sounds like
looks
they need to do more
so
cardio.
tired. Yeah.
He's winded.
Yeah. I mean, that's what'll happen when you're hamstring. Like,
this is what we saw with
Yeah.
the Lions last year. It was like DeAndre Swift would do a lot of the work, like in the middle of the field, and then here comes Jamal Williams, and that's why he
Yeah,
got 20
bam,
touchdowns last
bruiser.
year because he just punches it in. They get him. Their other running backs get him into the red zone, and then their bruiser comes in and scores. Because there's running backs that's their specialty is to just run through gaps. They're
Brick walls. Yeah.
yeah. I don't think
That's what the
James Cook
fullback-
is necessarily that. I don't think Aaron Jones is necessarily. I think both profile more as a scat back.
There's no more fullbacks in the league, other than Derrick Henry.
And
Yeah.
this juice check kid, who they
What's
barely
his name?
used
He's not-
this year.
It's the guy on the Vikings. I think his name's
Juice.
Ham.
Oh,
I don't know who you're talking about.
He's a legit.
James
fullback.
Devlin, Patriots
team.
legend.
Who?
Yeah.
Exactly.
5-head motherfucker.
The Ravens have one too. They're like a legit fullback.
I know that the Tampa Bay has one, but he's like non-existent in fantasy.
They used to have
relevancy.
Leonard Williams, man. Or, yeah.
I mean, Juice Check used to be on the Ravens.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah, that's
that's
pretty much all I have to say about your matchup. Aside from Jordan was very down bad on quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And he didn't play
So-
Gabe Davis. I'm sure that was a no-brainer. You don't play
Here's the
Gabe
deal.
Davis.
You don't play Gabe Davis, though.
When are you supposed to know that Gabe Davis is gonna be playing? Like, it doesn't make sense.
This
Like
is what
1 week he has 30 points or 20 points
no, I
or
knew
14
this
points, and then the
going
next
on.
week he'll have 0. Like literally 0.
this is
Multiple
what
0-point games too.
this is
so it's
why
not like-
in 2017, 2018, 2019 everyone hated Amari Cooper. Same thing. He would have games where he would get literally 0 points, 0 catches for 0 yards. And then the following week, 40 points. And then the following week, after everyone's like, oh my God, he's back. Amari Cooper's good at football again, guys. You play him and he get 3 points. And you're like, what the fuck? When do I play this guy? So you bench him again. And then the next week, he gets 24 points. All on receiving. He doesn't get a touchdown, but he gets 24 points in production. It's
Yards
like,
alone,
what the fuck? When do I play this guy? And Tyler Lockett was similar years back. He would be like, he would have a huge blow up game with like 2 touchdowns and a shit ton of yardage, and then the next game he would get 1 catch, and it's like,
The only difference
Fuck.
between the Lockett
And he's still kind of
Amari-
like that.
yeah, he's been more consistent last
Yeah,
year.
he's consistently 8 points. Ooh.
Yeah, for Amari, and Amari was dealing with Derek Carr and Dak, like early Dak. So like, I mean, those are, inconsistency. Like, I think that's also part of the issue. Is just like inconsistent quarterback play throughout that time. Not that Deshaun has been any sort of like great.
Well, famously with Amari Cooper, he did actually fix this issue, but when he was younger, he would get in his head, like he wouldn't get upset and throw a hissy fit like a Steelers receiver would. He would he would sit on the bench and he wouldn't go out. Like he would get his number called to go back out on the field and he would say, no, I can't. That corner, I can't beat him. So he benches himself. Like that has happened in his career multiple times. Like he would just get so in his head that he
He's so
can't play
emotional.
football. Yeah, he's super emotional. That's the player he is. He seems to have beaten that after being traded to the Browns. He's been a lot better about that shit. But like definitely when he was with the Cowboys, and I think that's a big reason why they wanted to move on from him. And the same reason why I know that there was
Well, I mean,
other
how do you coach
issues
that?
in
how do you coach that?
the
if they just
Raiders,
give up?
but
You can't coach somebody who just
yeah,
gives
it's like
up.
just play, just fucking play, dude. Like I don't know what to tell you, kid. Like figure it out.
Like deal with it. Either try to get open. If you can't get open, it's not a big deal, man. There's 3 other receivers that are gonna try.
Yep.
I
Like,
think,
super
when
unique,
you
though.
say, like, I think when you say like, how do you coach that? It's literally like you have to find the perfect person, which I guess Kevin Stefanski was, because that's the only explanation.
Kevin Stefanski is
Like,
an amazing
there's no
coach.
like,
He's a good coach.
there's no
yeah,
like
for sure.
reason why like on paper Mike McCarthy versus Kevin Stefanski shouldn't be able to coach that,
Yeah.
But like, it's just a personality thing.
All the jokes about Mike McCarthy and his Denny's menu call sheet aside, he's actually a pretty good coach, and he does have a Super Bowl, so he should be able to figure it out with players like that and the players that he's had to work with.
Should be able to. I mean,
This was also an issue
you
with
gotta
the
realize
Raiders.
that these guys are all adults, right?
Yeah.
And so a coach that sees that, they're gonna be like, if this isn't high school anymore, you're getting paid to do a job. Either go out and do your job or get fired.
Right.
Like it's not even about
It's a next man up league.
I shouldn't have to coach you about something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's something that your high school coaches should have worked on, your college coaches should have worked on, or your pee-wee coaches should have worked on. And I'm assuming he was just enabled all the way through to the league that was an okay thing to do.
I mean,
That's
he
a
was-
fair assumption, honestly.
I mean, I think he also might have been like so good for those levels, you know, like if he's good young and then just never runs into that adversity through most of his career.
I mean, everybody runs into the big fish in the big pond in college.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
there's
true.
no
That's
point
true.
in your career where you're just going to be
The
always
college
the best. There's
the
like
college coach should have definitely
3 dudes
dealt with
maybe.
that.
No one walks through college. I mean, there's a few people, because like don't get me wrong, there are players that used to come straight out of high school into the NFL because they were just that good. But we don't see that anymore because the NFL has rules against it because they are required to get a degree before they can come into the NFL. Or at least be, I think it's, yeah, because that's why you can get in with an AA because an AA is technically a degree.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why
Um,
juniors can make it if they're good enough.
Amari Cooper was also he was 4th overall. Like up until that point in his life, he'd probably faced zero adversity. He probably had no issue playing football at any level until he became an NFL player. I just kind of wonder. I wonder if a similar thing is going on with Gabe Davis, where he's like gets in his head, and that's why
No.
that's where the inconsistency comes
He's
from.
just not in the game plan because if you watch the games, he's out there, but they don't throw his way at all. He's just completely written out of the game plan for the week.
The Bills too have like there's long-standing offensive issues that they have that Josh Allen kind of papers over because he's good and can run, but like
Right. The scramble.
they need to
drill.
do. There's some, obviously I don't know what they need to do, but they need to do something and to address whatever weird shit.
I
is
think it
going
would
on.
help if Josh Allen would stop throwing so many interceptions. Like the dude throws
Yeah.
he turns the ball over so much.
I mean,
It's
Favre
absurd.
too.
What do you mean? What are you supposed to do? Protect the ball. Throw better.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
Dable got him
I
to
said,
do it.
I said he's Favre too.
Oh, Favre too.
Oh, Favre 2.0?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
Favre 2.0.
that's Aaron Rodgers.
I mean,
Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the interceptions.
yeah,
and
no, sorry.
just called a dude a pedophile, so not great. I don't know if Favre
Yeah.
ever did that. He just stole from poor people.
I mean, that's still pretty bad.
Facts.
Yeah.
You know, actually, come and find out that was the company that he owned that he was never even involved with. So Favre is taking the heat for something that he actually just never did. But
That's
Fuck
the way
him.
it kind of goes, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, he's a Packer.
Fine. You're a
and he's a
multi-millionaire.
traitor to the Packers.
And he is a traitor to the Packers.
Yeah,
he
he's
went
a-
to the
he's a
Vikings.
traitor. Fucking Jets byway to the Vikings.
I mean,
shit.
it's the Vikings. Like,
The Vikings.
yeah, it's a division
I
thing.
don't care about
Like,
the
yeah.
Jets.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, it'd be
division
like if
thing.
Russell went to San Francisco.
Any of them, man. Like,
I
That'd
mean,
be
it'd
fucked
almost
up.
be like if Sherman went to San Francisco, or Bobby Wagner.
no.
Look, Bobby
Bobby
went
did
to
betray
He
LA.
went
us.
to L.A.
But we knew what
Yeah.
was up with that.
Yeah,
We
We,
also
didn't
cut
want to
him,
pay
I mean,
him.
that was Rust Ball time.
That was
Yeah.
we cut both of those guys, so yeah, I don't blame either one of them.
Mm-hmm. I don't either.
They didn't
Right.
They didn't
That's
force
a
I
good
blame
point. They
I
didn't
blame
force
people
the
like
trade.
Russell Wilson for, being on
It
the
was Russell's
team
fault.
and then
Yeah.
getting traded. I blame him for not
Yeah,
figuring it out.
Mr. No Trade Clause.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, the no trade clause is always a red flag, like in any sport, like baseball, basketball. Football,
Everyone should be on the
always a red
table.
flag.
Everyone's got a price. You know. That's the game. You play in pro sports, like expect
See,
to
I
relocate.
feel like if with that no trade clause, we should have paid him a lot less. We should have used that leverage to be like, okay, well, if you want that, you get less money. But they didn't even do that.
And then we could give him what he wanted. An offensive line that could block and
Uh-huh.
keep that weird shaped Russell Wilson shaped pocket alive. The one that kind of like fades right.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And
So
not
some-
leave Ben Brown on the fucking island for what 4 or 5 years.
So something fun I thought we would do is take a look at the rookie draft and talk about the picks, give teams grades, look at like in retrospect what we know now, what the picks looked like, so on. So I've got the board here. Yeah, so Casey, basically the way this shook out is it's as if me and Josh were in the championship year 0 and I lost. So we ended up picking at the end, and then Casey, technically, according to the way that this worked, was the worst team in the league with the first overall pick.
You could just the order was randomized or based.
Oh yeah,
off
it was.
of
I know.
randomized,
That's why
like,
it doesn't
whatever,
matter.
it's a
Like
startup.
the order,
You
the
don't-
order
you
was
don't
the
need to-
reverse order of the order we started with in the startup
not
draft. So
contort ourselves into some weird, non-existent justification.
right.
Yeah.
But all that to say, Casey had the 101 and picked a running back. In Dynasty, doing that is extremely ballsy. I know we've only been doing this for 1 year, but
This is
picking
your
a
very
running
first
back
draft.
first overall is very risky because not only because of the position and what it is and how short-lived it is and the level of production required to beat out the top receiver options being what it is very hard to hit on the 101 being a running back. I think that it's hard to say at this point if Bijan was a bad pick or not because Arthur Smith, but
Yeah,
I've liked
Falcons.
what I've seen from him.
I think
I mean, the only
he plays
player-
good.
I mean, the only
Just-
player I think that like
Falcons.
was a definitively better pick than every other pick, though. Like, and that's Puka Nakua.
My man.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Like,
Yeah, I'd agree with
Puka
that.
Nakua was the steal of the draft, and for that reason,
he's
I
the
would
steal
give.
of the draft. But like, even if you go to like points scored, like other than Bryce Young and CJ Stroud because they're quarterbacks, like he's right up there. Like he's the third rookie in production this year. Like I don't think that's bad.
Behind who? Addison and Flowers, or
No, Puka Nakua, Jameer Gibbs, Bijan Robinson. Those are the three top non-quarterbacks. And like,
And I got him in the 5th round.
yeah,
I
mean,
know. Yeah,
And Puka's the steal of the draft. Like he was the waiver wire pickup of the year, depending on your format. Like,
Right.
yeah, it's like not terribly like controversial.
Yeah,
yeah.
I picked him because he had a funny name. Literally.
dude, I don't think no one saw Puka Nakua coming and being a product. It's just like that's fantasy, man. It's just like sometimes amazing players are dog shit, and sometimes dog shit players are amazing, like in Cordell Patterson, and sometimes people come out of fucking nowhere and are great, like Puka Nakua.
I mean,
Well,
Trevor,
the funny
I think-
thing,
I feel like we both made the same bet, kind of, with just being like, okay, Cup's gonna be out, someone's gonna have to step
Mhm.
up. I bet
Yep.
on Tutu, you bet on Puka,
Mhm.
and you definitely won that bet.
My
Early in the
thing
season, though, it was a lot
with
closer.
him,
Yeah,
was I saw a bunch of training videos come out, and you see Cooper Kupp, and Cooper Kupp's agility is just fucking on another level. I mean,
Oh, he's
moving
unreal.
his hips, he's moving
Unreal
his
route
feet.
runner. Yeah.
And then you see Puka
He's-
Nakua come behind him, and it's like he's got concrete shoes on. But
He
then,
makes Cup look like he's.
but
yeah.
yeah, but then you watch him play, and you're like, well, what the hell? So in my mind, over this course of the year, I have so much confidence because the amount of room that this kid has to grow. I feel like in the next few years, he's going to be one of the top elite receivers that we have.
Well, he's bold.
As long as Stafford
he's
is
combine
there
bold at
and
the
they don't,
beginning of the season, right? So he's been leaning up presumably through most of the first season, and will be getting faster.
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, it also helps that his like anybody who says Matthew Stafford's a bad quarterback, like just
Is dumb.
They're dumb. They're dumb.
he's an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
as long as the Rams don't somehow end up in like the quarterback carousel where they end up with like the next version of Carson Wentz, whoever that ends up being, like he should be fine.
Yeah, I don't have any time for someone who's a Matt Stafford hater because he created Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, dude. Like,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Like
Stafford has been good for.
he's
a
just
long
he
time.
he played for the
He's been
Jet
in
or
a
he
very-
played
the
Jets.
Lions.
The Lions,
He played for the
yeah.
Lions.
In the
That's the
Lions
problem.
for
That
a
was his
long
problem
time.
with his career. Is he played
Yeah.
for the
Yeah, I mean,
Lions forever.
He
He showed way too much
During-
loyalty to that organization, despite the fact they
Way
were
too much.
unwilling to be competitive until
Yeah.
very, very recently.
I mean, only after they got rid of him. were
Yeah, they
willing
just
to be
need a cult.
competitive.
They just
Well,
need
it was more. I think that's more Dan Campbell
Just
and the
the Dan
ownership
Campbell
committing
change.
to
Yeah,
a system.
exactly.
They have a
Yeah.
process now. It's not just like
And Stafford didn't fit that system that they wanted to do, and that's fine. So they got capital for it, and they used it to get key players that are
Well,
currently
back to
good.
Casey's draft. I mean, Dalton Kincaid, like, there's something there. I don't know if there's anything
Yeah,
like
tight ends
other
take
than
2 to
like
3
just
years
I
typically.
don't know. Yeah,
I mean,
Will
there are some
Levis.
exceptions
That's
with Laporta.
In
Okay,
retrospect,
now-
Dalton Kincaid was not the right pick. It was Sam Laporta, obviously. But
yeah, Laporta.
you can't. This is process over results. Dalton Kincaid, I think, was drafted over Sam Laporta, if I remember correctly.
no,
Yeah.
Sam Laporta was the first one off the board, right? Because
He went number 12 overall.
No, Jameer Gibbs went 12.
Oh,
So when was I don't remember when Detroit's first round pick.
Regardless, they were all around the same picks, I believe.
Oh, wait, no, he was a second rounder because Jack Campbell was the 25th.
was the 20.
They were
yeah,
early.
right.
They were early-ish picks. All these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Laporta also, like, people slept on him because I think there was some exhaustion on tight ends from Iowa around the league, but like, so good.
I
He
think
also didn't have a good blocking profile coming out of college, and so like he profiled as like purely a receiver, and people were apparently unwilling to take a swing on that, like neglect the Travis Kelce model. But
the thing is, though, is
Very
that
good.
they had T.J. Hawkinson, and
Right.
we all saw what T.J. Hawkinson did in that offense, and we thought it was
Yep.
just a product of T.J. Hawkinson being a good player, which he is. But
also a tight end from
they just slotted in the same kind of guy, and he's better than T.J. Hawkinson.
he's more
and
athletic.
It makes
Puts the ball
sense in retrospect, but the Dalton Kincaid pick makes sense to me, taking him here, because we know that Dawson Knox was really good in years past because of the prolific passing offense that the Bills are. So I think that, and Dalton Kincaid is a fine football player. It's just that tight end as a position takes years to
It takes a
acclimate
few
to.
years
So
there.
it's
Yeah,
not
that
to
was-
say he's a bust. He's just unfortunately not Sam Laporta, and I don't want everyone to think that there's going to be a Sam Laporta in every draft every year, because Sam Laporta is looking like the next. I won't say
was
Travis
like that.
Kelsey, but definitely like the Mark Andrews, Zach
in that-
Ertz tier player from
He's in
years
that
past.
conversation for sure.
Oh, he's a top 3 tight end,
This
easy.
was a historic class of tight ends, though.
There's a
Like,
lot
in
of good
terms
ones.
of tight ends doing rookie production. I mean, we could talk about Laporta. Kincaid saw the field. Michael Myers saw the field. Musgrave and Kraft.
Yeah, both of the
Schumacher.
Packers. Like, yeah,
You know, of all of these guys who came off on the draft, like in terms of tight ends, only Washington hasn't produced at an extreme fantasy level, and Dalton Kincaid. Like, everybody else saw starting roles at some point during the season and had a chance to produce in a big way, and generally
that
took
doesn't
advantage of
happen.
it. You know, that's
Yeah.
wild. That is a crazy class for tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Michael Mayer never crossed 14 points, but
He's a tight end.
but in college he looked insane. They didn't even give him a shot until
Oh, yeah.
halfway through the year, but when they finally did give him a shot, he was putting up points.
Yeah,
he looks good too as a player.
Yeah, I mean, Luke Musgrave, Schoonmaker, Michael Mayer, all these other guys are gonna have the typical tight end career arc, in my opinion. They're gonna be in the league for 4 or 5 years, and then they're gonna be either really fucking good pass catchers or just really good blockers or out of the league. Those are the only options there.
Yeah, somebody will turn into the next like David Njoku, who is a super highly touted, super athletic tight end, and just now looks like.
Well, out of all these guys, the next guy that could be David Njoku could be Michael Mayer or Dalton Kincaid. They're not that right now, you know.
It's gonna take a few years, yeah.
Yeah.
I see Michael Mayer as more of an Evan Ingram kind of guy.
I kind of
that's
see
still a good
Musgrave on that track too, more like the Evan Ingram kind of.
For Dynasty, with how deep our teams are, like a tight end 2, like a top, not the top 10, but like the ranked 15th tight end is a really good piece to have out of the rookie draft for years.
Oh yeah,
Because you need depth everywhere, and depth at tight end matters a lot because you have to start one every week. So,
Yeah, and I mean, tight end is still tight end. Like,
it's brutal.
The run that Travis Kelce had, like for all those years, that he may still be on because like he's still tight end 2. like at 35. Like,
I mean, only Laporta has him
Yeah.
beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By like 7 points or something.
barely
8
anything.
points.
Like,
8 points.
yeah.
Sam Laporta also had the best rookie tight end season of all time.
Of
Yeah.
all time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, and I think the same kind of thing goes with all of the quarterbacks, outside of maybe Hendon Hooker, who we have never seen on the field. So who the fuck knows? Like, we don't know if any of these guys are going to turn out to be
He's going to
anything
be injured
other
all
than
year.
maybe
No. I think Will Levis is something. That was the other good player I wanted to talk about on Casey's draft that I thought was pretty good. I think Will Levis has flashed. I don't think he's like top 5, top 10, maybe not. But like as a starter quarterback, I think he's going to be in the league for a minute, at least 3-4 years.
I mean, his contract dictates that he will. Like, he's a second rounder. They don't
Yeah, I
need
mean
over-
they could just bench him because they have that kid from last year. I forget his name.
Malik.
Malik Willis.
Malik
But
Willis.
he's been clearly awful.
Yeah, no.
Not
They'll
right.
ride with they'll go with Will Levis over
Malik.
Malik Willis.
I mean
God,
they got
I was about to say that
they
wrong.
got Tannehill. We'll see how long. We'll see how much longer Ryan Tannehill's in the league. He's
Dude,
getting
he's gonna go be the Jets backup, man.
Jets backup. Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think so. Christian Gonzalez got cut like a week after the draft, and then I picked him up, and then
Eric Gray's behind. I don't know.
Eric Gray is like so buried on the depth chart. I don't think he even got any run this year. So I think I give Casey like B+. Pretty good draft.
Solid.
Solid.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
got
I
three.
think it's
He has
like a
three
B.
dudes who you have hope for or are like you've started, kind of thing.
That's great.
Yeah.
Jordan,
Uh,
JSN, he looks great. Can't hate second overall pick in our draft because he's going to be on the Seahawks for a long time. He's caught a lot of touchdowns. I think he's got like 700 receiving yards or something. Just for the record, the rule of thumb with receivers, rookie receivers, is 550 yards is what you want to see. That's like the threshold of whether or not they're going to make a year 2, year 3 leap into being a consistent starting player, a contention for like wide receiver 1 on their team. You want to see the player eclipse 550 passing yards. Jackson Smith and Jigba has done that, and he's looked great doing so.
he
That's a
also
good
gets
pick.
third down work, which is always a good sign.
Yeah,
Yep.
but he'll never be DK. He'll never be
Well,
WR1.
that's not who he is, though. You know, he's like I see him as like the future
just
after
JP.
Tyler Lockett retires.
Yeah, that's what I said when he.
Yeah, they also
Which
play
is
different-
great.
is so he could retire.
He's
Yep.
he could be a wide receiver 1 on another team, but we already have one, which is a
And
big
outside
problem for
injury,
for
it's
defensive
not a riddle.
coordinators.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
good problem to have.
We've also seen his route tree expand from like what they started out saying he was just gonna be a slot guy. Like, he's done more. I think it's a good pick. Like,
I think we could make him a sweeper. We could turn him into more, but they're not utilizing him this year for some reason, like they should. I think there's a lot of things they could do with JSN that would make him stand out a lot more in fantasy.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't do more jet sweeps with JSN. They tried this stupid, like, I don't know.
Because
this
we like
bubble
the
screens.
screen.
Yeah, bubble
I
screen.
fucking hate him.
Yeah, bubble screens and like they just
Or
check
draws.
a design
They
like a
do-
draw play or like a designed
So
check down
stupid.
almost is like it's like a I don't know. It just sucks.
It's we know. All right, I know when a draw is coming. The same time that the opposing defense knows a draw is coming.
That's why it gets
That's
blown
the
up
end
every
of it.
time.
And it gets blown up every single
Every
fucking
single
time.
I will say-
I don't know why we do them. We shouldn't do them.
Shane
it's
Waldron.
probably
yeah.
Bleh.
I mean, I will say this about screens is that they're an epidemic in this league because of the too high. Like, a lot of teams
Oh, for sure.
do the screen, throw behind the line of scrimmage to get around the too high thing, and I hate it.
It's a
Absolutely.
viable way to deal with safeties that are playing so far back. Like that's
hate
why
it.
that is why
It's not,
Travis
though.
Kelce is so good though, is because he's incredible in the screen
yeah.
game.
But you need a 7-foot tall man to do it.
yeah,
Okay, you can't fucking be doing
got
it with these
DK.
little midgets.
we got
We don't
DK.
do screens with him.
We should. We just do
don't.
go balls. It's
He's just
stupid.
too
Yeah.
good at he's just too good at blocking, and that's why he never is in that, which is like
He's also good at contested catches, which is why he runs go routes all the time.
Well, thankfully we got Jake Bobo, and he's probably the best blocking receiver I've ever seen.
And that's
throws-
probably
He's
true.
quite
massive
good
blocks.
at that. Yeah, he's a big
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
He's big.
You block.
It's shocking. Maybe it's just because of like the past pro stuff, but it's shocking he wasn't converted to a tight end in like college, and that he maintained a wide receiver.
I think it's
designation.
because of how thin he is. So
Yeah.
so they don't
He's not very.
they
heavy.
want more stocky, wider people because they
Low
are
man
better
moving.
at blocking. Yeah, but I think Jake just somehow throws really good blocks. Like he had to have been a lineman when he was going through Pee Wee or something, and he converted into a receiver later on because he got tall and got skinny. But it's like one of those things where all of his what is that, basic football knowledge seems to be in like blocking. So I think he's just been doing it forever because he has great technique.
Yeah,
Good way to keep yourself in the league. That's for
I mean
sure.
that's why he's on the team. You know, he
Yeah.
secured a roster
Sure as
spot.
hell
because
isn't
of
his
that.
40 time.
Yeah.
Luke Van Ness,
Him
Tyree
and-
Wilson, Israel Anabuke,
Anaconda. We never
during the
got to
rest of the
see any of
draft,
these
I don't-
guys.
Yeah, I don't know anything about them other
They'll
than
be
like
in-
Well,
I made
Steve,
fun
tell
of
us
Steve
about Lucas Van Ness. I watched
Yeah. So
a smidgen of Packers games. I've noticed him a couple times, but like
He's
I don't know
another
if he's
Iowa boy.
fantasy relevant.
He's one of those players who's probably should have been stashed on a taxi squad all year. I don't
I'm
know
sure he
where he's
was.
at. And I mean, like that is a reasonable.
Jordan's
thing.
defense is stacked too, so I haven't imagined he needed to
He
elevate.
really looks like he's developing really well. In the beginning, the Packers were playing him on the interior of the line, but they've started moving him around and are playing him on the outside. He's had a few sacks this year.
So he's a
and-
traditional lineman.
Yeah,
more or
he's
less.
definitely a traditional lineman. People thought that
Was he going to be an outside linebacker?
I think he actually is going to be. Yeah, I think he played DT in college, but I think he's going to get converted into an OLB. DL.
Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't.
And
My-
he's doing okay so far at outside linebacker, but he's not been asked to drop into coverage yet. So he's doing a pretty specific, like he's a pass rush special, and that's where he's end up most likely.
My most disappointing drafting, like rookie drafts, were Chase Brown and John Mingo. John Mingo didn't do shit all year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yes, Jonathan Mingo, I agree, has been kind of disappointing.
and Chase didn't even get to play until the last
Well,
probably 5
hold
games.
on. So Jonathan Mingo has been playing behind one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen. It is so hard to evaluate him, but he's also done himself no favors with the low light reel that is.
Yeah, his
400 yards.
He's been doing what he can, and they desperately
When you're getting
need.
beat out by Adam Thielen for catches,
Not good.
I'm not good.
You throw an offense that putrid in the trash and hope for the best in the future
I
because
will
they
also say this.
they
like,
need a receiver.
the other thing too is that the Panthers are not going to be good soon. Like any
It'll be
part
a
of
couple
that-
years.
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
I mean
2
it's
years,
it's just
probably.
where they are for personnel, and like no one should have any faith in the organization. Like this whole week has been David Tepper's temper tantrum, like throwing a drink at a fan. Like
Yeah.
this guy is not a serious
smart.
NFL owner.
Dude, they got blown out. Blown out this
More than that,
0 to
they
26.
got shut out. Worse.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
blowout.
That's
That
worse.
would
A
be
shutout's
that would-
worse.
I mean, that's the same.
You don't
it's the
score a
same-
goddamn point.
It's the
It
same
was-
A
thing.
loss is a loss, man.
A
It's
shutout
still
blew
bad.
out.
Like yeah, no,
He
I
got
like
blown out 35 to
So
3.
Jonathan Mingo might be nothing, but I do think Chase Brown flashed when he did get opportunities, and he did record the fastest speed on an NFL field as a ball carrier all season amongst all players.
all right, that's something.
He's
I mean-
fast.
Yeah.
Fast as fuck. But he's playing behind Joe Mixon,
Like Joe Mixon.
who's
yeah,
you
like
gotta-
who's not going to be there forever.
Yeah, he's coming in. He's going to be coming into his own, and I mean, you have the perfect.
And
I think
mean,
Chase Brown will be the guy in redraft that people pick up as like when they do the 0 RB strategy where they don't pick any and they end up with like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, AJ Brown as their first 3 picks or something ridiculous like that, and they don't have any running backs in by round 5, Chase Brown's going to be the kind of guy that like 0 RB players want, because he's undervalued like a motherfucker and could be like RB2 tier, like top 30 running back in a couple years. So I actually like that pick a lot personally.
Yeah, I think it's
There's a lot of ifs.
I think
That's
you had a great draft. Like, I give your draft grade is easily like an A- or A, like one of the better drafts out of the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Trevor and
I think Jalen Carter's kind of a no-brainer. Like, he's fine.
Yeah.
He will be Jalen Carter.
He's gonna be.
You
he's gonna
wait.
be
That is
amazing.
a wait in like a year.
It's not even really a wait. The only reason he's not outscoring my current D linemen is because my current D linemen are fucking linebackers. And by the way, they're number 1 in the league for fantasy points.
Yeah.
Both of them.
That's why you
Khalil
want
Mack
linemen
and
that are
TJ
dual
Watt.
designation.
Like,
Yeah.
there's no way to make defensive linemen better. Like, I even traded to grab Chris Jones off of you, and it was not even worth it. It just wasn't.
Linemen they're tough. Like, that's why the ones that have dual designation are so valuable. There's rare ones. There's really rare ones that, like Myles Garrett, that are pure edge, that are super productive, but that's one of one.
It's like Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, Montez Sweat.
Most of those guys are like rotational tackle guys that are just big and physical and fast, and they get sacks. And that, yeah.
Max Crosby and Myles Garrett.
in Mudipike, but
What?
he's getting there.
Who?
Madubuike on the
Yeah,
Ravens.
Oh,
He just
He's
went on.
an edge for tackle. He's
been on
like
a historic
DT.
tear. Yeah, he's a DT.
I mean, he's having the same kind of year. Well, not the same kind of year, but the same kind of like sack production as Quinnen Williams did last year.
Yeah, he's just on a historic year. But
With IDP though, you want to see that consistently, and you can. Every year we see a guy get double-digit sacks, and then the next year do nothing all season.
Quinnen Williams
Oh, yeah.
this year. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's also called bag-itis.
Happens all the time. Bag-itis is a real thing.
happens.
But yeah, I would give Jordan like a B- because we don't really know what's going on with those the later drafted players. And Hendon Hooker was a big whiff. Maybe a B-, C+ in that tier.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just give Joe an A. Real.
Oh, Joe smashed this draft because Jahmyr Gibbs is rock fucking solid. Devon Witherspoon is like one of the best defensive players for fantasy.
So, because me and Joe were right next to each other, and this motherfucker kept taking my rookies, dude.
Well, you can take solace in the Puka Nacua one then, because
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'll take Puka. I trust Sean McVay. He's a good coach. I'll take him. And then you took him.
Joe, not a single one of your players I have any questions about. Like, Roshan Johnson is clearly going to be a guy in the league. The
He's
Bears,
mine now.
unless the Bears draft a guy in like the 2nd or 3rd round this year, you don't have to sweat it. Khalil
It's a
Herbert is
weak
not the
That
guy.
class, just saying.
Yeah, that too. But Brian Branch, we talked about him in the fantasy championship. He was money. He has been
He
money
also-
all season.
He scored like in the second round matchup versus Trevor. He scored 30 points. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he went the fuck off.
and Mike Wilson has been great for Arizona, and they need young receivers.
He didn't hit the 550 mark, but that's injury related.
Yeah.
And so
And
we'll see if
also,
he's staying healthy. That's kind of
he's
where-
playing on the Cardinals. But he's
70 yards in 12 games is on track for that. So I think we can give him a
I've
pass.
seen him discussed frequently as a speculative ad in redraft, and that's really good. Like, you want to see that. You don't want to like this could be a guy you elevate next year.
I've already elevated him. Yeah,
I mean, you can put him back onto your taxi squad.
that's true too.
So
Yeah.
So A, you get an A.
Hey,
Danny also had a really strong rookie draft. Jordan Addison looks fantastic. A lot of that is propped up by the fact that he was forced into the wide receiver 1 role. on that team because Justin
Still-
Jefferson was gone for like 8
He
weeks.
still produced pretty well when Jefferson is on the field.
Exactly.
too.
And then he came back and he was really good. Like, that's what you
He
want to
even
see.
held his own.
He's
Like
maintained.
he even held his
that.
own when Hawkinson had good games. Like it's
Mhm.
not like he got nothing.
Yeah.
Which
Yep.
is also good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Achan.
Achan,
mean,
that speaks for
everybody,
itself.
like
Yeah, good
that.
pick.
Yeah.
Glass
No one
cannon,
averages like
highest
8 yards
highest
a
ceiling
carry.
in the league. Like
8 yards a carry for this season. Like that's nuts.
I think Tyreek
Yeah.
Hill has the highest ceiling in the league, but highest rookie ceiling, sure.
yeah,
Oh,
I mean
yeah.
out of
That's
this
very
draft class, yes.
Yeah.
I think he has the highest ceiling for sure. Maybe Sam Laporta can fight him for that title, but damn, Devon Achane when he was healthy was something to watch. That was must see TV.
Yeah, that was a show, dude. 100% a show. Tajay Spears, I think, is going to get a serious look at replacing Derrick Henry whenever they move off of him. Like,
And what?
yeah.
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 I think Derrick Henry gets traded in the offseason. I don't-
People have been saying that for 2 years, though.
I think it actually happens this season. We'll see. I know Derrick Henry likes it there, but
Derrick Henry was saying
the Titans are going nowhere,
He
man.
was questioning his future with the Titans.
Yeah, we'll see.
I
He's
that's
going to be a
my draft.
very interesting player to watch. Him and Michael Pittman are potential, like the best potential free agents coming up next season.
Oh, yeah, Michael Pittman's a free agent for
Yep.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Marius Mims is going to be lost in the Denver shuffle. Like, that team's a dumpster fire.
Russell
Thank you,
Wilson
Sean.
really liked him though. There's a really funny quote early on in the season how he was saying Mims doesn't have a ceiling, and it was like, does he not have a roof on his house? Like, what does that mean, Russ?
Yeah, what does that mean, right?
Is the
Fucking
ceiling
weirdo.
the roof?
Yeah,
Yeah.
is that
quote you're
good?
trying to appropriate?
Is
Like,
that
what is
bad? Is
that?
he doesn't have a
Unintended.
ceiling? Is it what does that mean? I don't know. Apparently, he's one of those guys that's like really flashed in practice, and the coaching staff really like him, but it just has not translated. They also have pretty good receivers. Like for all the bullshit, the Steve Smith Senior trolling about Jerry Jeudy and everything, Jerry Jeudy has been okay. He's definitely not like an alpha 1, which they drafted him to be, but he's a NFL caliber wide receiver for sure. And Cortland Sutton is really good.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson is just kind of bad, and it's really messy over there because they are moving on from him. That's an $85 million decision in terms of cap hit.
And the
Yeah.
NFLPA has like also stepped in because of just how it's gone down. So it's just a messy situation. It's not great over there.
Yeah.
the Broncos.
I think there's a lot to do with Russell can't gain respect on a team where he just disrespected an entire organization. Because if you're going to disrespect the organization that just spent, like, what was it, 7 years, 8 years, propping you up as their poster boy and claiming that you were never going to leave and all this other stuff, what are you going to do to the team that you've only been on for a year?
That's being coached by a hard ass like Sean Payton.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
He's an asshole. That's a very different culture than what Pete Carroll
As
is
a
like.
lineman, even if I remove myself from the Seattle love thing, as a lineman, I wouldn't be able to block for him. I wouldn't have that kind of motivation to like really take care of this quarterback that causes so many locker room problems. I mean, how do you fucking block for a guy like that?
I think also this kind of piggybacks off your point is like Russ is very much like you need the personalities to fit, which is kind of what you're saying. But
Yeah.
like in specifically what happened in Denver, like to what Scott said about Sean Payton being a piece of shit, linemen not liking him, all that stuff. It's like he never like there was always friction there. Every story we ever heard coming out of there was bad.
Bad.
Like
Mhm.
like it never worked. Like there's got to be buy-in, especially at the quarterback position, and like
Yeah,
Right.
just
Yeah.
because you're a
Just
good
wasn't.
QB doesn't necessarily mean you're going to perform good when the entire other 10 people you're with don't believe in you. You know, a leader can only lead the people that believe in him.
Justin Fields, you are a Denver Bronco.
Justin
Atlanta
Fields.
Falcon.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or a Falcon, man.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of do hope the Bears
The
keep him
Broncos are
and
picking
then
pretty
get Marvin
high.
here, get Marv, and
Yeah.
they get Olu. Like, I would love to see that.
I hope he goes to the Falcons so that Scott has more things to complain about. And
Yeah,
Who,
actually,
Justin
I'd like
Fields?
that. Yeah.
yeah, he's just gonna go to that offense and play like shit.
Oh,
because-
nothing's gonna get fixed around there until Arthur Smith is gone.
He'll be there next year. Don't worry.
Yep,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
and
gonna
then,
be more complaining from me next year about Arthur Smith all year.
last thing is Emmanuel
Good.
Forbes came in as a very like surprise pick in the draft because he was 160. And
He was great
showed.
this season,
And
even
it's
for
like, yeah,
fantasy, he was pretty good.
He's good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think he's like got a
Good
future, and like it's really impressive that a 160 kid came in and actually like showed out as he did. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, Danny did a fantastic job, especially after the marathon that was the startup draft, being able to stay focused and stick to a plan and pick the players that he did. I think he did a great job. B plus, easy.
Yeah. That's a
You know who
plus.
almost saved my entire season this year was a waiver pickup? I somehow ended up picking up the number 2 DB in fantasy production that we have because Jordan
Who's-
dropped him.
Who is that?
Chavarius Ward.
Oh, I didn't realize
Oh,
he.
yeah.
I didn't
that-
realize that he was dropped. Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw
yeah.
Jordan dropping him. I was like, wait a minute. I'm grabbing that guy.
Travarius Ward was
He's an
amazing.
old. He's on my team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably why he dropped him. I would be interested to know what that decision. Like same with the Danielle Hunter drop. Like,
Danielle Hunter.
is it
yeah,
because they're old? Because like defensive players can play longer than offensive players.
a lot longer?
A lot longer. Yeah.
Look at Richard Sherman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could still play if he
He
wanted.
could still play if he
Yeah.
wanted. Like
Absolutely.
with his torn Achilles and being ancient.
All right, Matt.
Matt.
Let's
yeah,
break you
so-
down here. We're starting to get into the rougher waters here.
Laporta
Quentin
is the bright shining star in these rough seas.
Laporta
You
is
got
the A
Laporta,
plus.
so-
A plus
you-
plus for Laporta. The rest of your
Yeah,
draft
he's
was
bringing up your average here.
pretty rough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge.
Not
Ugh.
like huge. Really, just
Oh,
bruh.
I'm sorry,
Bruh.
bro. I really hope Huge can be something, but like, there's not everyone's gonna be good. I hope Huge can be serviceable as a fantasy
agree.
option.
If
But-
he can make it to a flex, man, that's already a huge improvement from what he
I mean,
is.
maybe he follows the Devontae Adams path and gets the drops under control.
Dude, the problem with
But-
Huge though is that he's had all the opportunity in the world with a good quarterback, and
he's getting a
he's
coach
been a net negative. It's like he's a Kansas City receiver. Like
Well, he's
it-
also
I
getting
mean,
a
like-
coaching change. That kind of stuff, like he's not going to
Yeah,
be part of the next
no, they-
regime. Like that's not going to
Yeah.
matter anymore.
yeah,
that's a good
because
point.
the new
That's
coach
kinda
is going to
fun.
come in. They don't care that they drafted him in the first round. They do
Yeah.
not care at all.
Yeah, he's not their guy.
Yeah.
Who's getting a new coach?
Chargers.
The
The
Chargers.
Chargers, they fired Staley after that awful
The
Vegas
fucking
game.
beats out by the Raiders.
Remember the one
Yeah.
where I was like, I was getting some cereal or something. I was like getting food or something. I sat down, I looked at my phone, and you were like, "You guys watching this blowout?" I'm like, "Bro, the game's been on for 5 minutes." Blowout.
Like, what are you talking about, dude? Yeah.
It's like I just sat down, the game was over. It was like the fucking 3
Hey,
minutes.
Richard Sherman at halftime was like,
missed
Brandon
it.
Staley need to get fired. It was like at
Yeah.
the end of the game, everybody was like, yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Sherman came in hot saying, like, he actually said that on live TV. It was like, are the Chargers going to be the first team in NFL history to fire their coach
Fire him at
halftime?
halftime.
Richard
Dude, I love
Sherman's
Sherman, man.
too hot
Savage.
for
Love
TV,
Richard
dude.
Sherman on
Savage.
TV. He's so good.
Yeah, no.
He's so
Richard
good.
Sherman's awesome. Don't care. Like, yeah.
He's a great on TV.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't want to
perfect
watch
for TV.
Skip Bayless ever, but he's
He
great
needs
on the
to,
prime broadcast.
as long as he stays sober, he'll be all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
As long as he stays sober.
Tank Bigsby, that did not work out.
It's
like the
nothing
other
so
tank.
far. I mean, he's the safety valve running back, right? I guess
He all
learned
just had a
things
very rough
here.
start to the season, and that kind
Yeah.
of soured.
We don't know what Tank Bigsby
just
is.
don't know.
He's a literal
He's not
question mark. We cannot grade him. We have not seen enough of him. It's
Yeah.
kind of like most of Jordan's picks. It's like we don't know who the fuck these guys are because they don't play.
Well, that would make them an F.
No, Sidney Brown plays for the Eagles, which is kind of the thing.
Which is a
because
problem.
The Eagles secondary is bad.
Yeah.
And that's not great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a maybe room to develop. So far, not good. And
I mean,
but
I
Evan
think-
Hull is good. He played really well for those few games in relief in the early season for the Colts.
Dude, you mean in the first game?
Was that just the first game?
You
The
only
thing
saw
is that
snaps
they
in
have
the first game.
Jonathan Taylor. They just signed. They
Yeah,
re-signed
exactly.
him. Like
Yeah.
he's gonna be a backup. So
Did this
Yeah, the
dude
thing-
play 2 games? What the fuck? Or like 2
I mean, the thing
snaps?
about like the tight end position and the safety position is both of them, like linebackers, need time to develop. It's like they're very
Yeah.
tough positions because of what
Yeah.
they're asked to do, especially nowadays. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think you should write off Sidney Brown, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, the Eagles secondary is not inspiring whatsoever.
no, it's not. It's rough.
Yeah.
I think overall, I think we'll give Matt a C because of the Sam Laporta pick.
Yeah, I can't go lower
Simply
than that
because of
Laporta.
Laporta. Yeah.
You've got a
If you don't have,
long-term-
if you erase the Laporta pick, it's like a D
Yeah, it's a
plus.
D to a D plus. Yeah, D minus. Like you passed by the skin of your teeth.
It's okay, Matt. You have a high draft pick. You are like way up there
You
this season. You're
you
good.
you have one of the best tight ends that's going to be in the league for the next 6
10
years.
that's a
If
huge-
you step away from the
Huge
draft with
difference.
one player that you're super confident about, that's a win.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
huge.
100%.
In
Yeah.
Dynasty, that matters because most of
you
the
get
guys
one
you
good-
add during the season come from the wire. These they emerge, you know.
Mhm, mhm.
Uh,
All right,
on to
John.
Sharbs,
This looks good. I like this.
Richie Rice, I think are both solid. I mean, Sharbs is at least a flex option long term.
Can you stream it for me because on my phone
Oh yeah.
is dead.
Well, Scott does that. I mean, I think Charbonnet's a fine pick, honestly. Like first round running back that actually saw time. I mean, Richie Rice is
Charbonnet-
going to lead. Richie Rice is going to lead the backfield, the wide receiver.
He's
room.
the best wide receiver on that team, hands down.
Yeah.
Rasheed Rice is a good player. I don't think
Yeah.
he's like emerging as like an alpha superstar.
I don't.
but he's good.
I don't like Charbonnet. I'm going to disagree with all of you on that.
We're talking
Oh,
about
I-
Rishi Brent.
We're talking about
Rashee
Rasheed Rice.
Well, no, but because you guys moved on from him so quickly, you guys both said that you like him. I don't like him.
Oh, I don't
I-
like Charbonnet either.
I don't
I
think.
think he's a flex option. Yeah, like the high end.
And I'm saying that not just because I'm the Zach Charbonnet owner and I also picked Kenny McIntosh, which was its own problem. We'll talk about later. But he just I want to see K9. Like he's just
Well,
taking
he's
snaps from
actually-
K9 and he's just a better player than Charbonnet. I think Seattle whiffed picking a running back in the second round.
I think Charbonnet's a whiff in the second round. Yeah.
I think Charbonnet would be better on a different team because he'd get more run, which allows him to get more carries and get into a rhythm.
Even when he
Yeah.
had like the rhythm, even when he was the lead guy, I wasn't very impressed.
He was-
I
he
just
was-
think, like
eh.
he's got a skill set that will keep him in the league. I just
Yes, he's a
like,
he's
it's
a
not that he's going to be a high end
he
star.
looks
ever,
like a backup to me. Like he's a
Yeah, he's a-
backup
yeah.
running back.
which is not great for your second round pick. Just
No.
Um,
He's fine though. Like running backs that fill in for injuries are very valuable. It's not like he's a wasted pick, but like in terms of real NFL production and what he looked like this year for fantasy, it doesn't look great.
I think again, he's at the high end. His outcomes, I think, is like a flex option.
Yeah.
High end flex.
Injury
Like high-end
injury fill in or bye week guy.
Yeah.
Because he gets play every game. He gets play. It's not like he only gets put in for like 10% of the snaps, the offensive snaps, or as like to spell a guy. He actually gets plays drawn up for him, and he gets like 8 carries a game, which has
We'll see
value.
how long that lasts.
We'll
But,
see.
Yeah, no, that is real. Jalen Hyatt though.
Hang on. With Rashee Rice, I feel like he's great in PPR, like full PPR, but in standard like half, it's not. I don't think he's that productive.
How much of that is mitigated by our first downs?
Um,
I mean, just not even thinking about fantasy, just like eye test wise, he's a step
He's
ahead of
great.
every other
He's
receiver.
He's a
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
rookie.
I mean, he's about to have 1,000 yards on the season.
The problem with Rishi
He
Rice,
just doesn't get touchdowns.
the problem
He's
yeah,
not even. He's not their touchdown option.
that's
He's
the
got
thing.
7 touchdowns.
That's
He's
the thing,
got
though.
7 on the season, which isn't terrible for a rookie.
Rashi Rice was great for fantasy as a rookie this season. That's no question. The question marks for me is Kansas City needs 2 more wide receivers because no one knows what's going to happen with Travis Kelce if he sticks around for another couple of years, and they desperately need Tyreek Hill. They need him to be that explosive offense they once were. He's
Travis
gone.
Kelce's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think
If
he
you
retired.
watch his podcast, he's gonna be around for at least 2 more years. He's not going anywhere.
I know that Travis Kelce is very big on legacy. He's a legacy guy. He wants to lead, like he wants records. Records matter. His stats matter to him a
He wants
lot.
to be better than Gronk for sure.
He's a family guy. Look at him. He's a total family guy. He's never gonna betray
He's a goober.
the team that he's. Yeah,
He's a goober.
He's one of those dudes that I guarantee you takes a pay cut so that he can stay on the same team.
Yeah.
He already took a pay cut.
He did, yeah.
Like, he already did that.
Yeah.
So did Pat
And
Mahomes.
he'll take another one.
Yeah, he'll take another one.
That's
He doesn't.
That's
it's not
just
about the money.
what great players do.
Yeah. So
I will say this though, when like I think the point though about needing 2 receivers and that cutting into Rice's like ceiling is a real thing because they absolutely like Kansas City absolutely needs like a receiving room that doesn't involve Kadarius Toney.
which is why I think
no kidding.
if Kansas City goes out and spends their first round draft pick next year on a wide receiver and they look amazing, Rashee Rice is now a number 2 guy. And then you don't know what you got at that point. Like Rashee Rice could be the wide receiver 1 for that team for a long, long, long time. He could be a wide receiver 1 for fantasy, but
It all depends on the draft.
it depends on all this other stuff, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's the future is murky for many players, but Rice was
His
great
is
for
quite
Kansas
murky.
City this year.
Yeah.
His is
especially with
murkier.
especially with this class coming in where like
Loaded with wide
Basically, the only
receivers
thing
and
with wide
quarterbacks.
receivers.
well the only thing that I think is certain in this draft coming up is there's going to be a lot of wide receivers drafted high and a lot of like offensive linemen drafted high.
Yeah, there's a shit
These
ton
are
of
the
linemen.
only 2 things that are like definitive at this point.
Yeah.
It's like
A
those
lot
2
of quarterback, a lot of stuff that the entire NFL really needs is linemen, quarterbacks, wide receivers. Like we need a lot of these things.
Yeah, and here they come.
Here they come. Yep.
It'll be good.
Jalen Hyatt, we don't know anything about him because the quarterback situation
In New York,
involved like Tommy Cutlets for however long that lasted.
Right.
2 weeks, just long enough to eviscerate the Packers.
It stings for Steve.
Joe Barry disaster class.
Joe
Yeah.
Barry disaster class for sure.
I
I
mean,
wonder if that was a symptom of no tape. More than
Steve
anything.
mentioned Luke Shoemaker. I have him in the PsyOps league. He got snaps and got points. I'm not sure what his like.
Shoemaker, let's
I don't know.
check
Role
back
is
and
going to expand next year. I am certain.
let's check
like-
back in 5 years with
Yeah.
Shoemaker and see
Yeah.
where he's at.
Yeah, he's going to follow the traditional tight end path.
Of course. Like all tight ends will, they do a lot of blocking first before they start catching passes.
That's
Not
true.
everyone
Typically.
not everyone comes out catching passes like Sam Laporta.
Yeah.
Like
Or-
it
or
takes time.
on the next draft here, Musgrave.
Or Musgrave.
I'll
Same
also
deal
say
with
the
him.
last thing about, I mean, Drew Sanders is kind of a microcosm of the linebacker position right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think this is changing anytime soon. These these middle linebackers coming out, like all of them are going to be drafted real low, and I don't know. We're not going to know anything about them for years.
I think a high C, like a C plus, would be a good
Yeah,
grade
I'd give it C plus
Ben,
For what?
for John.
for John.
I know I'm saying, but for what? How are you
Rishi
giving him a
Rice,
C? For
Rishi
Rishi
Rice, and Charbonnet is fine as a fantasy option. He had
I'm just
multiple.
I'm just a Charbonnet hater, I
I'm pretty,
guess. I
I'm
don't
pretty
know.
That's fine.
high on.
That-
Honestly, I'm high on Hyatt's potential.
I think
he gets
Zach
going.
Charbonnet looks like trash on the field. I don't even think he belongs as a professional. I think that the only reason he even looks good is because of the offense he plays for. I don't like him. He's a bad running back. No vision, falls
Oh, my word.
over, fucking just yeah. He just isn't a. I just don't like him.
He's everything that you hate. We get it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
moving
Yeah.
on. Otherwise, we're gonna be
Literally,
here for another hour, and we get it, dude. Oh, you hate him.
Yeah.
I give you a D. Only because you got Rishi Rice.
Ben Zay Flowers. This
Good
is a
pick.
good pick.
Yeah.
At the time, I thought it was a good pick. I still think it's a good pick.
Zay
But,
Flowers goes hard.
yeah, really like Zay Flowers, man. That
A lot of people were really questioning the Zay Flowers profile because he's so small, but like that clearly doesn't fucking matter anymore.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
not only that not matter, but it's like if you line him up and you line Mark Andrews or any other tight end like to play the Mark Andrews role, like that's exactly who Lamar Jackson is going to be able to find running out of the pocket and looking for an option, like
Yeah.
close to a first down marker. It was like, oh no, this is a good pick. That makes sense.
Lamar Jackson has also really thrown the ball well this year. And like
Yes.
specifically what sticks out in my mind is that octopus that he got that to win the game basically a couple of weeks back.
Oh yeah.
Zay
yeah,
Flowers
yeah. That
just it was
crazy.
clutch. That's what stood out to me with Zay
That was
Flowers. That
crazy.
he's got the clutch gene. Like dude is good at football. And the pressure doesn't bother him.
Yeah.
So
Good pick.
yeah, good pick.
Yeah, that's a
great
amazing pick.
Unfortunately, that's really all I can say about Ben's draft. That was good.
Yeah.
I mean, Musgrave.
What
Was
about
on his way
Musgrave,
to a
Steve?
good season, but then he got injured. So
Yeah, I don't see him going very far in the league. To be
Yeah,
honest
I mean,
with you.
I think Musgrave. He was a highly drafted tight end. He'll probably be a good blocking option, but never an excellent fantasy player. He'll probably be like a tight end bye-week
That's
fill-in guy.
if that's actually true, what Scott just said, that's really bad because he was not drafted for that,
Yep.
and that's not his skill set.
Yep.
So that's
It's
I think he'll end up being a Seahawk and be in like the 5 tight end receiver room that we have, because we just can't
He
help
might
but
be.
get more tight ends.
He might
and-
get traded. I think that LaFleur likes running 2 tight end sets and basically just having 2 big wide receivers come out of the slot. I
So you
don't
got
know.
Jaden Reed and Christian Watson.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, but they better watch out. Bo Melton's
On the
coming.
side.
Yeah, Bo Melton,
Bo Melton's coming for you.
Green Bay legend Bo Melton,
Yeah.
Seahawks legend Bo Melton.
Seahawks legend Bo Melton.
NFL
drafted him in
legend
the
Bo
7th round.
Melton.
Yeah.
Fucking Bo Melton. I traded him to Ben in the Psyops League for a fucking nothing.
I traded him to you in the psyop.
For fucking nothing.
Yeah, no, like,
Sounds like a
Bo
whole lot of
Melton
nothing to
is
me.
just like a
Yeah,
whole.
a whole lot of
He's like
nothing.
a weird little chip that has been passed around, and now it's like emerged and awakened, being on Ben's team. It's very wild.
So I
Um,
guess again for me, I'd give Ben a D for Deuce and call it a day on his draft.
No,
Yeah,
I
G
think you
produced
could.
on.
I
Yeah.
think a C- is appropriate because of how
if
good
you've
Zay
got
Flowers
one,
is
if
as
you
a
get
pick.
one good dude, that's at least. A
If
C.
you hit 1 out of 5, you just are above a fucking F, in my opinion. You hit 1 out of 5.
Eh. If you have a good player, if you just get if you were just to have Charbonnet a D, sure, but like in John's draft, he got Richie Rice, that can be a C. Like
Yeah, I think we
you got like Laporta, like that's a C draft because you got Laporta, like C draft because you got Flowers. Like if you get one, that's an average draft. Like that's a good draft essentially. Like
I
that could
think if you get a smash hit, like a guy you're starting every week, lock it in, no problem, later in the draft, that's like automatically a B. Like the reason why I gave Trevor such a good
Right.
grade is because he got
Yeah,
Puka Nacua with a
Puka
5th round
Nacua.
pick.
Yeah.
You know? I think that matters. Like draft capital does matter. It matters where you allocate your resources. If your first round pick is literally nothing, that hurts your draft grade, in my
yeah,
opinion.
huge is bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, on to Kelsey then.
L,
Anth-
fat L. You
No,
had
no,
like
no,
the
no.
best,
I think-
best running one of the best like opportunities in Anthony Richardson, and it just failed.
Anthony Richardson looked fucking amazing before he got injured, though. But he
Yeah,
was just playing.
yeah.
He was just like he came out as like a little kid, all excited, ready to go, running super fast, and then immediately got wrecked. It was like, "Welcome to the NFL, bitch!" And then that's how his season ended. But prior to that, it was like, "Oh my fucking god, is that Andrew Luck?" And Cam Newton in the same body, because that's how he was. He was the most athletic draft pick of all time, like in terms of like all the intangibles and the combine and like all the pre-draft process shit that I shit on all the time and do not like, because I like film. I don't like the fucking combine. Anthony Richardson showed out in all respects and really hyped himself up pre-draft because of the combine, and there it was on the field for a short time. He looked great.
Yeah, we'll see if he can turn in it, like he can not get hurt is essentially what's going on.
Yeah,
with him.
This season's kind of a wash for him, but I think that was a great pick.
I think Kelsey did great. She hit 3 out of 5.
Yeah, because
Josh Downs is good and gonna be good. Tank Dell, I was
gonna be
so
good.
fucking mad in real time when that pick happened.
Tank Dell.
I was finger on the trigger for Tank Dell, and she nabbed
He
him.
was like one pick before. Yeah, 100%.
I think
yeah.
personally, I think in terms of like best draft picks from the draft overall, it's Puka Nacua and then Tank Dell.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of value,
Yeah.
In terms
Pure
of value.
I don't know.
You
Brian
redraft
Branch-
today, Tank Dell is like top 3.
Yeah.
Brian
he's
Branch
way
is
up there.
after. Well, I guess no, that's a round later. I don't know, just because like wide receivers, like the offense.
Yeah. No, totally.
Offensive premium.
Absolutely.
I think as we go forward, though, we'll see more later. Like early on, people will draft offense, and then later on, people will draft defense.
Yeah, you do notice it. Only
Nope.
Trevor drafted a first round defensive player.
Well, I mean, Jalen Carter,
did.
I think, deserves to be picked in the first because of he could be Myles Garrett plus, you know.
Yeah.
He has that ceiling. It
He has
makes
10
sense.
years of productivity ahead of him.
There's yeah. I mean, Jalen Carter has zero questions. Zero questions. About
Right.
him.
Yeah.
That's I think we will see that will be rare, though, that we find a fantasy relevant defensive player that gets picked that high.
I don't know, man. With how important defense is in this league and how many points they score, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some DBs and some linebackers that look really good that could potentially go in the first round.
I like.
I mean,
Jack
Witherspoon
Campbell could go earlier.
I mean, Witherspoon is 6th overall for rookie points. Like,
yeah,
very relevant.
I thought
He was the second defensive player that was taken, though.
Yeah.
It goes Jalen Carter, Devon Witherspoon.
Are you talking about like? Oh, you're talking about like overall.
You're missing
Overall.
Will
Yeah,
Anderson.
he's talking about overall.
Yeah, I'm talking about
He's the-
overall.
Witherspoon's the third.
Yeah, Will Anderson
Will
went
Anderson.
Oh,
third.
I didn't even
Will
see
Anderson
Will
went
Anderson
third,
on there. Yeah, okay.
Will Anderson
Oh, the
went
color.
third
You know,
after-
you're right. The colors
round.
got me tripping.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's
Will
Carter.
Anderson should be lineman,
Anderson.
but he's linebacker because he's dual designation, so it's confusing.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Well, just
but
to
you're right.
finish out Kelsey's, I like B, A, somewhere in that range. I mean,
I think she's got a B plus.
B plus.
I gave
I mean,
her a
she's-
B plus B. Yeah.
If we saw Anthony Richardson play out the season and he looked great, it would be smash A. But yeah,
A,
B,
yeah.
B,
Yeah.
B,
and
B
we don't
plus.
know anything. The 4th and 5th round picks we'll find out. I guess.
Fourth, fifth round pick, running back, flyer players, whatever. You got
Yeah.
Tank Dell and
You got
Anthony
Tank Dell,
Richardson. You're good.
Exactly. And Josh Downs.
Josh Downs, Michael
He
Pittman's
flashed, but
Michael Pittman will be the
Yeah.
wide receiver 1 for them if he stays. But
he
Josh
stays.
Downs looks fine he'll be like a WR3
yeah,
for
2 or
fantasy.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he could turn into a W2 or WR2 in the right set of circumstances. But
Yeah.
again, that's all. I couldn't tell you that.
But Kelsey, you had a fantastic draft.
Steve,
I think
You know
I
who
give
didn't?
myself a C
Steve.
plus.
Me.
Like you're
You know who
Like-
didn't? Steve. Steve got a WR3 and that was it.
and Christian Watson hasn't seen the field, and Jaden Reed is actually like
He's a WR3.
he showed up.
He's a
He's
WR3.
WR3 this year.
He's there. Yeah, forever.
See, the thing is with Jaden Reed is when Christian Watson is back and fully healthy, and if because they're going to draft another wide receiver. Not in the first
Yep.
round, because we know that's not what Green Bay does.
Green Bay doesn't do
But
that. No.
they'll draft another wide receiver.
Somewhere.
Where does he figure into that
If
picture?
I
next
like
year?
Jaden, but if Jaden doesn't end up on the practice squad within 5 years, I'll be surprised.
Okay. Stadium prediction. We'll hear it. We'll see it.
I like him. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a good player, but I
think
don't think he has the athleticism to be a WR2 or a WR1. I just don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think
What
he's
Trevor's
kinda
saying is that like
rookie
better
advantage
real life football player
Yeah.
than fantasy.
than fantasy.
Yeah, than fantasy.
I think you're right.
Amazing real player.
Like a Jake
But-
Bobo, like
Yeah, he's
better
Jake
real life
Bobo.
player than fantasy.
than
Jaden has
fantasy relevant.
Jaden has a lot of
Yeah.
highlight catches this season that
I
give
mean,
you a
he's-
lot of reason to be
He's also
excited about
their
him.
Touchdown kind of go-to option, isn't he? He
Well,
sees
that's
them.
who Christian Watson was last year, but then he got hurt.
Yeah, but no, that like Watson hasn't looked right with Love at all.
But he's also
Injury
been
or no
really
injury.
injured all season. Like next
Yeah.
year, when we see both of them healthy after a full year with practice, OTA, everything, preseason, blah 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 blah
see.
blah.
I mean, they
We'll see.
should have had this all this year, but the injury just.
We'll
robbed
see.
them.
I don't know. I wouldn't
We'll see.
say
Honestly,
is-
I think the receiver on the way out in Green Bay is Romeo.
Yeah,
Oh,
Dontavian Wicks just looks better than
Dontavian
Romeo
Wicks
Dobbs.
looks better. Romeo's in UFA. The other one guys are draft picks. Like, if anybody is leaving, it's Romeo.
and Bo Melton like threatens
Bo Melton is like
to
is
be
threatening
to
Romeo
get on the roster
position.
and so, like,
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's where the Packers receiver core stands at this point. At least.
I think the DTR pick was literal. You could have just farted, and
I
that'd be a
threw a
better
dart
pick.
at the ball. Yeah.
Keishon Butte, same thing. He would boo booty.
Yeah, he's
Butte was
booty.
Butte.
I don't know, Patriots.
Yeah.
Will Anderson. I'm super like high on Will Anderson. I think he's gonna be
I think
amazing.
that's a good pick.
Like he's gonna be a relevant fantasy
was
player
tough.
too. He's great. He'll be fine.
He has 7 sacks this year.
I'd give him a couple years and then maybe because he's a big dude.
Yeah.
He's a big fucking dude. I think he just needs more time to develop film.
Yep.
But that's the thing. Like
He's a rookie.
he's gonna need to do that quickly. Otherwise, I think he again another player that just fades out of the league because he gets tackles, kinda. Like he's there, but he's not as effective as of a force as an NFL team needs.
He's gonna develop. That is a notoriously difficult position to
Yeah.
adapt to at the NFL level. So
Yeah.
next year is
I mean,
gonna be next year and the year after are gonna be huge for him.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But the thing is that they
Anderson and McDonald.
the coaching staff believe in him. They traded up to get him. They're not going to move away from Will Anderson. He'll be around on the Texans
front office
for a
isn't going
while.
anywhere
He's most likely going to live out his rookie contract on that team and still be in the league at that point. I strongly believe that.
We will see.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty high on him.
Other than that, though, Steve, I give you a D.
Yeah.
Your draft was trash.
It was
Yeah.
real bad.
Scott.
My draft was an F.
Yeah, you failed.
I
Everything
failed.
but-
Every
Yep.
pick was bad.
Yeah.
I think I kind of disagree because Bryce Young, I liked him in
fucked up.
college.
I
I liked him
fucked
in
up.
college, but he's one of those players, right?
Fucked up.
That
He's
just
in the worst
didn't
situation, too.
he didn't transition into the NFL. And I think he's a lot like Trevor Lawrence and the fact that he's on a really bad team. He was a great quarterback in college.
Yep.
But I don't see too much future for him. If he could get an O-line and a couple more receivers, other than Adam Thielen, I think he could do good. I always liked him watching him play for Alabama, and I think
If he was on the Falcons, oh my god, it would be amazing.
yeah, it would be
It'd be
amazing if
amazing.
he was on the Falcons.
But it's his situation is terrible.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily give you an F because I do think that he is a good quarterback. And if
I
you
get
look
an
at
F
the,
plus then.
if you look at our league, even having Bryce Young as like a backup is amazing because of how questionable this year has been when it comes to quarterbacks.
That is
I mean,
true.
at least you're getting above 10 points every week. Or, you
Yeah.
know, you're getting 14 plus.
And it's not like he's
every
going to get
week.
benched. Like, who are they benching Bryce Young
Yeah,
for?
yeah, exactly.
Who do they have? Nobody.
Nobody. So I'd give you a D personally. Like I've given the last 30 people who only
So-
got one guy.
I'm giving you an F.
I give myself an F. Kenny McIntosh, I completely fucking whiffed on. He is a good running
Who?
back. Yeah, exactly. I didn't.
He's
like,
a big dude. Like I don't know why they wouldn't put him out there over Charbonnet
So
personally.
here's my thought
I will
process.
say this. I will say this about Kenny McIntosh. He is better than Charbonnet.
Fuck yeah.
Like he's better than Charbonnet, and
That's
it's
why I
really
picked
annoying
him.
We don't play him. It's really annoying.
It's so frustrating watching them play that midget over him. I'm just saying. Like
when I was evaluating this draft class, okay, we all know Charbonnet was picked in the second round. Kenny McIntosh was almost undrafted. He was like picked 230 something, seventh round, late seventh round pick. The film on him looks great. He played on a good team. He's a good player. He's electric. He had a awful combine, which caused him to fall a lot.
And then
So my
hurt.
thought process was Pete Ball runs the ball a lot. Charbonnet and K9 probably going to get injured this season, and we'll be able to see what Kenny Mac does. Lo and behold, it's not a Charbonnet issue. It's not a K9 issue. It's the fact that DJ Dallas is still on the team, and he has his spot. He would be returning punts and kickoffs if DJ Dallas wasn't on the team. But DJ Dallas is on the team, and he's a veteran.
But that being
But
said,
he's in
DJ
danger
Dallas-
of getting cut, and he's my second round pick in Dynasty. So like that is a really,
That's bad.
really bad situation.
That being said, Scott, I actually wouldn't be that worried about like Kenny McIntosh getting cut because DJ Dallas is on contract year and he's not.
He's been bad, yeah. He's
not getting kept, and so like
Yeah.
the cross control of McIntosh will keep him on the team because he's a seventh rounder, right?
Yeah, I just don't see Kenny McIntosh being like, if he stays on the team, like if he's still on the team next year and the year after that, maybe he'll be a guy play after two other guys get hurt. It's not a good look. Second round pick, that was a huge whiff on my part, especially considering the fact that other players I like better at this point were on the board, like Chase Brown and Tyjae Spears. I could have picked over him. But hindsight's 2020. I just didn't like. There was not many running backs in this draft class that were any good, and they all got scooped up well before.
I think we were all of our eyes were kind of burnt at this point too because we had just done the original draft, the startup draft, and so we were all tired and like looking at the screen. And
fatigue definitely plays into it, but like that's no excuse. Like I knew what I was doing. It's not like I didn't know the situation with Kenny McIntosh going into it, but like that was such a brutal pick for me when I was looking at this and I see like, man, I could have picked like Roshan Johnson or Will Levis or Jalen Hyatt or Tank Dell was on the board. I looked at Tank Dell. I wanted to get him. He was going to be my pick, just like Steve was saying, like in round 3. But I could have got him in the second over Kenny McIntosh, and I would have probably would have made playoffs this season if I'd done that, but I didn't. Nolan Smith cannot play. First round fucking pick, and the Eagles don't play him. And I learned after the fact that this is a typical Eagles thing. They do not play rookies.
No, they develop them.
They develop them.
Jalen Carter was a rare
case. Yeah, he's rare. He's also like a really high draft pick. But
He also lost Juwan Hargrave, and so there was like a spot they needed to fill.
I've seen them talking about how he's just an heir apparent linebacker on that team because he's a dual designation guy. He can shift up to the line. He can play off man. He did get a sack this season, which I was like, oh, cool. Nolan Smith is actually doing something. I noticed last week when we played, or a couple weeks ago when we played the Eagles, he came in for like 2 plays and got hurt. So I was like, fucking awesome. He came out there and the fucking our offense just killed him. Like Charles Cross or someone just laid a hit on him and hurt him.
Yeah, run over.
And then this fucking dude, Darnell Washington, the fucking Wookiee, he's a blocking tight end. He's incredible as a blocking. I saw him up like personally.
God, he's fucking massive.
The seats that Trevor and I had.
260, 6'7".
The seats that Trevor and I had were like right on the field almost, and I could see like how big fucking Darnell Washington is in person. He's a fucking big dude. Like holy fuck. And they move him around too. He plays both sides. But he's just not a pass catching tight end, and he probably won't be. He'll be an amazing blocking tight end. He's basically an additional lineman because of how big he is, and he was never a adept pass catcher in college. He just had a couple of highlight plays that were like, oh, maybe he could develop into one of those guys, but like, he's not a Travis Kelce. You know what I mean? He's a really good blocking tight end, and he will probably be on the waiver wire in a couple of years. We'll see.
It's kind of the hope for him is like the long-term development of turning into a
Yeah, that's
guy.
why he's going to ride in my taxi squad for 2 more years, and then we'll see.
Yeah.
But a catch a week is not something I can live on, especially as a Kyle Pitts owner. I'm already living on that. So
Yeah.
One additional catch.
1 a week. You get 1. And then Xavier Hutchinson I cut to pick up Christian Gonzalez from Casey because he dropped him.
Well, I'm giving you an F.
I get an F.
Yeah.
Trevor says he gives me a D, but I get
Like I said,
it's a F+.
1 out of 5. 1 out of 5 is a D. I'm consistently giving every team that just got 1 out of 5.
That's, as long as you're consistent, and maybe you're higher on Bryce Young than I am. I like Bryce Young a lot. I agree with you. He looked great
I think
in
if he
college.
was in a better offense, he'd
Right.
be fucking doing amazing. If he was on our team, he would have gone the fuck off. If
absolutely.
if we got Bryce Young, could you see the Seahawks would have been so fucking good this year. But we didn't get Bryce Young. We have Geno fucking Smith. So I disagree with saying he's a bad draft pick. I figure he's like
for fantasy, you know. Like,
even in look at our league. There's no fucking quarterbacks. He would have been great.
the thing is though, is that the Carolina Panthers have like one of the worst offenses I've ever seen, and I watched the Patriots this year.
And they're stuck with like the new Dan Schneider. Like there's no hope.
The ownership is a huge problem for Carolina. They basically have a rich man baby who owns that team. Like that organization wanted to trade up. They traded away the farm, 2 years worth of first rounds, fucking their wide receiver 1 and a bunch of like second round, third round picks to get this guy. And this was the result. And they wanted to get CJ Stroud, but the owner wanted to get Bryce Young.
Yeah.
DJ Stroud, as it stands, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's number 11 in the year on fantasy points, right? Which puts him above Sam Howell, Matt Stafford, Trevor Lawrence, Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, Derek Carr, Justin Fields, Geno Smith, Josh Dobbs, Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew was in the finals. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't think CJ Stroud is a bad pick. He's literally above some of the quarterbacks that we all call great in the league. So
About Bryce under CJ.
You're talking about Bryce Young?
hang on, yeah. My bad.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about CJ Stroud. I thought we were talking about CJ Stroud.
No. We're talking
I
about
thought
Bryce Young.
I thought we moved on to Josh. My
We
bad.
can move on to Josh though.
I think that's a good segue. I was just making a point that the Carolina Panthers general manager and head coach wanted CJ Stroud.
Oh, okay.
The owner wanted Bryce Young. The owner did.
The
Jerry
billionaire
Jones
boy?
thing. Yep.
Yeah.
The guy who's throwing drinks on Jags fans last week.
Yeah, well,
That
they got blown out.
Yeah. Anyway,
Well,
so
CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud, amazing,
pick.
good pick, fantastic pick.
Great.
Yeah.
He's been really awesome to watch, and I wanted him. I wish I could have just picked Bryce Young and CJ Stroud because I liked both these guys. But personally, I was like, when the selection, because obviously it was Bryce Young and CJ Stroud were the only quarterbacks available, and I liked both of them. My thought process was, you don't often get the opportunity to pick the 101. And then I picked him, and I'm sure that if the roles were reversed, Josh would have picked Bryce Young. So,
Yeah.
like, if I'd picked C.J. Stroud, Josh should be looking at Bryce Young. He probably would have picked him. These would have been reversed.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I mean, hindsight, like we don't know. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think because clearly the thought process was there. We both wanted a quarterback. We both got one. But Josh just ended up basically lucking into getting one of the best quarterbacks. I think the best rookie quarterback from this draft class.
Oh, clearly. Yeah.
I don't know. I think Anthony Richardson's going to turn out being better than both Bryce Young and CJ Stroud.
We'll
but
see.
That's just me.
Anthony Richardson will. I think Anthony Richardson.
Even
won't
Will
be,
Levis. I honestly think Will Levis is going to be better than.
You can
definitely
live on that
rather bet
island, man. I don't believe it.
I like Mayo Coffee, man. He has a superpower.
You can go ahead and
So,
like him.
I think Anthony Richardson, because the issue with Anthony Richardson, the concern was always his accuracy. If he's not good at passing the ball, he's going to be a elite running threat, which will make him fantastic for fantasy, like 2018 Lamar Jackson, fantastic because he's so fast. But if he can't throw the ball, he will be a much better fantasy quarterback than a real life quarterback because real life quarterbacks are better when they're pocket passers. They need to get the ball out. But if we don't know because Anthony Richardson's season got cut short by a really brutal shoulder injury. I think he tore his rotator cuff.
Yeah, that was bad.
Or his labrum too. I don't know. His shoulder got fucked and he was in a lot of pain. So we'll see. I don't know how easy it is to come back from that kind of an injury.
What did he tear?
He tore his rotator cuff
he'll be
and
fine.
I believe his labrum as well. His shoulder got destroyed.
Well, if it's labrum, then
It's a bad injury. I don't know if it's labrum. I just remember
rotator cuff you can
tough.
come back from. Labrum you cannot.
It was rough.
Because the problem with the labrum is that
it limits your range of motion.
well, no, it's not necessarily that it limits your range of motion. It's that once it gets repaired one time, you keep tearing it because what they do is they stretch it and they reattach it and then it rips and then they stretch it again and they reattach it and then it rips and then they stretch it again and they reattach it and then if it rips for the third or fourth time, there is no more labrum. Like so I'm in that position right now personally where I have to get my shoulder replaced with a titanium shoulder because of that. So there is no fix for a labrum. You're better off trying to get stem cell stuff done to it to regrow the area that's there.
Huh.
And I mean, at his point in his money, he could probably afford to do that.
Yeah.
But
Okay, I just looked it up because I want to make sure we get the right information. It is just a really bad AC joint sprain, so it's
He's
pretty
fine.
minor. He's fine.
Yeah,
He's
he's
fine.
fine.
He just decided the training staff decided that it would be best to just end his season and get
and it
surgery.
is definitely it's his throwing arm.
It's a major, it's his throwing arm, and it's a pretty severe injury.
Look
But
the opposite side of that with Derek Carr at the Saints right now. Like they should have shut him down long ago. But
oh my
instead
god,
he's
yeah, they
being
shouldn't have
like
even
a
traded for him.
Like a fucking idiot.
They shouldn't.
Like,
He didn't trade. They
they're-
signed him.
Or
they're running
signed
him
him, yeah.
into the ground this year, and they're going to draft a quarterback. Like
That's right. I remember Derek Carr did that. He did Vegas dirty on the way
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, CJ Stroud was a great pick. Jack Campbell has looked fine, but I don't
He's
think
looked pretty good. His snap count is steadily increasing as we head through the year, and not due to injury. Like he doesn't get he gets some little spikes and snaps here to there, but he's on the trajectory you exactly want to see. 77 tackles and a sack on the game so far. This
he
season.
kind of profiles as like your generic waiver wire linebacker though at this point.
He does. People thought he was going to be a little bit better, but I mean it all depends on what happens with Barnes and Anzalone.
I mean, you can't hate the swing on a defensive player in the second round in the rookie draft because Josh went heavy on offense in the startup draft, so he probably was just trying to fill in at that position. He's like, I'll get some youth here and see what happens. And now as we saw throughout the season, Josh got a lot better at evaluating IDP players. I think that he kind of didn't know what he was doing. in the startup draft and then like
Yeah.
pre-draft process.
I
But
don't
he
think
figured
any
it
of us
out.
did.
He figured it out. He adapted quickly and found Brian or why am I spacing on his name? Deron Bland on the waiver
Bland,
wire. So
Yeah.
yeah. And then just I don't hate flyer picks at running back. Like Kendre Miller didn't get a lot of run because Alvin Kamara is there.
And Jamal Williams.
At least he saw snaps though.
Danny McBride though is probably droppable. I don't
Yeah, he didn't even see the field. So yeah.
because they have running backs and they probably will draft one. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, they didn't.
He's
If they didn't
practice
trust, if they didn't trust to put him out there when they were so down bad on running backs that they traded for more, I don't think Dwayne will see the field.
Yeah. Miles
He's-
Murphy. Oh, sorry. Were you gonna?
He's on practice squad and he'll just stay there.
Yeah, he's dropping.
Yeah, I mean, he could show out on the practice squad and get an opportunity after an injury.
No, because he would have gotten one. There's no like they have fucking 5 running backs
Yeah.
ahead of him.
I mean, they signed
Yeah.
Camp Akers over playing
Yeah.
a draft pick. I mean, like,
Yeah.
That
not
is
great,
true.
man.
The Cam Akers signing pretty much is a nail in a coffin for him.
yeah, it's not.
His-
yeah,
Yeah.
not a lot of hope there.
I don't know.
He's
They,
fine.
prime candidate for taxi squad. That's why it exists, man.
Yeah.
But again, D.
Yeah. That's
D.
I don't know. I think because of the impact that CJ Stroud has had, he ended up
Maybe
being-
even a C minus.
He was starting CJ Stroud over Pat Mahomes because of how bad Pat Mahomes was this year.
Yeah.
Like that's out of the rookie draft. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I give him
Yeah,
a C
no,
plus.
I agree. I agree.
I'll give him a
agree.
C plus. He didn't get any offensive players from his draft. Miles Murphy, by the way, I don't want to just act like he's trash or anything. I think he's going to be a great, or not great, but good,
Who?
like a starter in the league
Well,
as at line. He's not going to be fantasy relevant.
Bro
at
had
all.
19 tackles all year.
He's a rookie lineman. It's going to take a couple
play
years.
majority of snaps. I think.
I guess he
right
Did get
there.
3 sacks.
Yeah,
right
Miles
there
Miles
with
Murphy
Norman
is
Brown.
fine. It's just that I don't
But,
think
like-
he's necessarily going to be a stud
It's a-
fantasy player, you know.
It's a fifth
He
round.
could. I would keep him on my taxi squad.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely worth keeping around just because, like, he flashed enough with the sacks and he was a
Yeah, the
high draft
opportu-
pick. We're gonna give him a chance.
The opportunities they gave him, he took full advantage of.
Mhm.
We'll just
That's
say
more than a lot of players or so.
Yeah, I mean, he's also playing on a pretty good defensive team. Like the
that. Yeah,
Bengals
it's
are
tough to win a position there.
the Bengals are
That's-
stacked on defense. Like they have a lot of talented guys. So
Yeah, Logan go hard.
Yeah, I mean, he's,
Well, that's
that is
kind of it.
that is the rookie draft. So yeah, that's the championship. Congratulations, Joe. Assuming nothing happens
Yay.
tonight, you are the champion. Yeah.
The inaugural champion. We did it, guys.
Do
Made it
you
through.
have an idea who you are going to name your MVP to put on the plaque?
Oh yeah, I got to do that.
You don't have to answer now, but you got to think
yeah,
about
I have
it
no idea.
because I do want
I'd
to do
have
that.
to
I was
that one,
serious
'cause-
when I said that I wanted to do that because I think it's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
down. Because there's like, I got to think.
Are
of
you
somebody
gonna
who
make
actually,
Trevor
like,
salty and pick Amari
you,
Cooper?
I was gonna say you should. You know who. You know who.
You know who
won.
the man who made me
You have
angry.
two choices. You have 2 choices. Okay. Amari Cooper or Jameer Gibbs, because those are the 2 that killed me. Like Brian Branch, maybe, but I don't.
It's
I
hard
don't
to
think
say. Well,
Brian Branch was
was
good.
inconsistent over the season.
He's been very inconsistent. Jameer Gibbs has
he-
been consistently fantastic for you, even
Yeah,
early
like,
on.
Kind of my options. I mean, the Amari Cooper would just be like a funny troll, I guess. But Jameer Gibbs.
No, I
I
think
mean
you
that
should.
won you the game.
It literally won you. Got you into the championship. I really feel like
50
Amari
points?
Cooper is the
Then
most
make
fitting
it-
person.
then Make it fucking Aaron Jones.
A 50
It's not-
point performance in
it's
week.
not-
No, don't
in
make it
week
Aaron Jones because
16.
fuck
It can't
Steve.
be Aaron Jones.
Yeah, it can't be.
We're not
I
getting
think-
any Green
I
Bay
think
players on there.
I think Amari Cooper. I think it is like it is reasonable to say, like it would be reasonable to say him partly because that game was also the per game single game receiving record. Like
Yeah.
that was an unreal
In
performance.
week 16, that's up.
Yeah,
Like I was saying last week on my solo cast, that is up there with the Jamalacost, Kamarageddon. Like that will be cemented in history as you remember where you were when you got shit on by Amari Cooper in the playoffs, and Trevor's like, yeah, multiple leagues, motherfucker.
Yeah. Literally all of my leagues, I played Amari Cooper.
Woof.
Yeah,
Oh,
do you see why Trevor was so salty?
Yeah,
And that's why I'm leaving literally 3 of the leagues.
That's a terrible thing to open up your phone to, man.
It's a bad beat.
yeah,
It's a bad beat.
rough.
Because Amari Cooper was also good for me for most of the season, honestly. Like he finished in
He was
this
fine.
format as
He just had
wide receiver.
out of body experience.
No,
Week 16.
yeah.
AJ
that's-
Brown fell off. Amari Cooper kind of picked up, so
Yep.
that worked out nicely for you.
I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs also is totally reasonable.
Yeah, it's between those two in my mind.
I agree with Trevor on that one for sure.
Or I mean, you know, the other player that was really good for you all year. I don't think he.
Devin Witherspoon
played-
was fantastic for
Was
you too.
Boye
And
Mafe?
Boye was good
Boye
too.
and Witherspoon are also noteworthy,
He got you a lot of points this year.
He caught
Yeah, no,
fire. He
it-
was on a fat sack streak.
Yeah.
He was the only good defensive player against the Steelers too. The only
Yeah.
one that did anything.
But again, like Steve, I don't think we should put a Seahawk on there for Seahawks' sake. I don't think you should put a Green Bay player on there for Green Bay's sake. I think you should do Amari Cooper or Jahmyr Gibbs.
I agree.
It is really leaning.
You
those
can
two.
pick whoever you
Only
can
other-
troll and pick a fucking random waiver wire ad. I don't care.
Yeah, you could pick.
This is
whoever
all you,
want,
man.
but-
You're the champion. You can figure. Well, unless some bullshit happens later
Yeah.
and we get trolled by Sleeper.
I mean, the only other player that's even in the conversation is Pacheco, just because he was the.
It's not a
reason,
bad shout.
I won the championship game, but Amari Cooper's 50 points is that's some
Yeah.
historic bullshit.
Between those 3, I think you've got a hard decision to make.
Yeah.
Yep.
Figured out. So,
right.
yeah, going forward, we're gonna have to figure this out. I've never reactivated a dynasty league that I own. Steve and I and Joe play in the worst, and by extension, Trevor as a co-manager for the Vikings team that we run, play in the worst dynasty or the worst dynasty fantasy league ever that we call the PSYOP League. When they reactivated, the waiver wire doesn't open until after the rookie draft is complete. Which means that you can't your fab resets when we reactivate, but you can't make you can trade, but you can't do waiver wire acquisitions in the off season. I don't know how that works. We'll have to figure it out, but I'm gonna probably reactivate the league maybe this weekend. I basically wanted to finalize the result first.
So the way it worked in the PSYOP League last year was as soon as the league reactivated, waivers reactivated. But then the commissioner shut down the waiver period and just turned off waivers
Okay.
and free agency until after the rookie draft. And then
Okay, so that's all
it's
commissioner
active,
based
so,
settings.
yeah,
then.
we have to do it ourselves based on my conversation with Reddy about it.
Okay, so you talked to him. Cool.
Because
So
I talked to him specifically about it because I was the one who was like, "Ooh, the league reactivated," and made a waiver claim
right.
and started the dispute.
So
He was
That
like,
being
I'm
said-
trying to get ahead of this bullshit.
that being said,
Exactly.
I think that will be on our because we're going to be in some downtime here.
Mhm.
I think it makes sense to reactivate after the Super Bowl so that we can watch the playoffs and enjoy that, and then kind of scout players that are currently on the waiver wire and then make decisions, and then after the Super Bowl reactivate, and then the fab resets, and then people can start spending if they want for next year because it's off season.
Did that open up trades?
That will open up everything.
Yeah.
That's my preference. But we can put it to a vote. There's going to be a lot of things that we're going to ask the league to vote on. And I think we'll have one more podcast where we discuss it. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah,
But
I'm done.
Yeah,
We
we
also-
can do that.
We should definitely do one more podcast because we should at least go through all of the ideas
We
Yes.
need to
for
circulate
changing the
list.
toilet bowl and how that
You know,
works. so that everybody has
so the
information.
toilet bowl.
Even if
There's
it's, like, the whole
scoring
draft order.
changes. There's a lot of things that I would like to communicate to the league that won't really work in a back and forth. Like, I need everyone to see it, and everyone watches the podcast, I think. So I think that's the best way to disseminate information, because a lot of people turn off notifications and they miss things, and they're not looking at league chat, and we have the Discord, so I feel like this platform is the best to discuss and disseminate ideas. And then after we put out basically all of the ideas, then we can we'll have a probationary period where we can collect feedback and then have everyone vote on everything. So we'll basically bring forth all of the things that we want people to vote on, discuss the options so that everyone can make up their own mind. And then if there's ideas that people have to add to it, or things that people expressly do not want because they think it's so bad that they should take it out, then people can give us that feedback, and then we can reevaluate and then have everyone vote on the things that they want to vote on. And then we can make the changes.
I do think we should post a list or a big something somewhere where it's all text to reference all the proposed rule changes we've collected.
It'll be a amendment document to the Constitution, because that will, all of those things will get put into the Constitution, but the amendments have to be ratified.
Amend the toilet bowl.
Amend the toilet bowl. Yeah, all that's going to change.
You have to change that before the start of the next game.
Yes, we do.
There's no way we should.
I understand it was a bad system. It was just an experiment. I don't think it was very good. Thank you, everyone who was in the toilet bowl, for not doing weird shit and causing me problems by tanking. Thank you.
Also, shout out to
congratulations, Ben, for beating Steve. Fuck Steve. And congratulations, Casey or Kelsey, for being terrible and getting the first overall pick.
Shout out to Kelsey for getting Marv. Please choose Marv.
Yeah. You already have a QB.
Welcome to the Sacco.
The Sacco.
Yep.
All right, guys. It was a long one.
Well,
it was a good one, and it is the first championship, and we are done. This is it. Season's over for fantasy. Yeah. Enjoy the playoffs.
All right.
Yep.
All right, guys.
Sounds good.
Defense wins championships.
Defense won a championship.
Defense won a championship, and Steve definitely sucks. Shout out to Ben.
Congrats, Ben.
Later.
All right.
Later.
Peace.